Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here for the weekend, part 2 of the Bendis tapes. Man, what an ordeal. I've had technical difficulties that have driven me crazy this last week, but everything seems okay, and I know we're in the midst of a huge news cycle with Trump. I noticed it hasn't stopped any other podcasts from releasing their stuff, and so many good podcasts, entertainment-wise, are out there. Do you know about Ileana Douglas's show, I Blame Dennis Hopper? It's her excuse to do movie interviews with filmmakers and stars. And this week she has Joe Dante, and it's a great conversation. And Joe goes through his entire history, working with Roger Corman and Gremlins and Critters and all the great movies that he's made over the years. His views on today's film work. Mark Maron had John Michael Higgins from all the Christopher Guest movies, and it's the guy who played David Letterman way back in that HBO movie, The Late Show, which was based on the book about who gets the Tonight Show, Jay Leno or Dave Letterman. And he's got a new NBC show called Good News, which I haven't seen yet, but it's got Andrea Martin on it, and it's produced by Tina Fey and the writers of 30 Rock. So I'm excited about that. And I've just been enjoying myself listening to podcasts to get away from the current news cycle that, my God, every day it's something else. Brian and I talk about that at the beginning because, as I've said before, this hunk of part 2 of the Bendis tapes was recorded about a month ago, and Brian just wanted to, he likes to listen to it sometimes and, just trying to check it over, make sure he didn't reveal something about Marvel books that, before its time or even his own books. And kind of slipped through the cracks, and all of a sudden all this new Bendis product was coming out, a couple more issues of Jessica Jones. I knew Free Comic Book Day was going to be coming with the Defenders. Plus, last week we played the Marvel press conference of the Defenders for the ongoing series with Tom Brevoort and Dave Marquez and Brian on the press call. And I didn't want to just release, something that was just purely old news. So like last week, Brian and I talk for about almost, I think, around 40 minutes and give you new stuff that is relevant. We just taped it on Tuesday. So, I wanted to give you fresh information along with our interesting conversation. And we do have hey, man, we've been doing this for 11 years. We kind of know what we're doing. Certainly Brian knows what he's doing at this point. But anyway, a fun conversation. Also, up front, I wanted to bring you a short conversation with my buddy, a Chicago film critic, David Fowlie, because the Chicago Critics Film Festival starts today and runs for a week, and there are some great little movies that have been making the festival rounds and are playing here in Chicago at the Music Box Theater, really one of our art house show places in the city, right by Wrigley Field. It is a great theater, and we talk about a handful of movies, and this kind of also helps us in terms of, like, Brian and I have been busy. We've only seen a few things here and there, and it's a great chance for us to talk about new stuff, me and Dave, about some new movies that if you have a chance to see while they're on the festival circuit, certainly while you're in Chicago, you might want to see these things, but also keep your eyes out when they come out either streaming or on DVD or on demand. And I think you'll be very interested in the handful of movies we're talking about up front. So Dave Fowlie, and then part 2 of the Bendis tapes on today's Word Balloon. Word Balloon is brought to you by The Comics Canon. We've talked about it before. This is Kevin Moreau's fine program, the podcast that reads, reviews, and renders judgment on the greatest comic book stories of yesterday and today. Every 2 weeks, experienced journalists and critics Kevin Moreau and Kurt Holman hold in-depth yet accessible discussions on such well-known comics as Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Civil War, Preacher, The Walking Dead, Fun Home, and more works that have become mass media icons. They also discuss popular comics like Saga and landmark events like X-Men, The Dark Phoenix Saga, and The Death of Gwen Stacy. Each episode answers the questions, how do these stories hold up? What's their larger impact on comics or pop culture? And do they belong in that Hall of Fame of comic stories known as the Comics Canon? The guy's current episode is about Thor, Volume 1, The Goddess of Thunder, collecting Thor 1 through 8. That numbering, of course, reflects the 2014 run by Jason Aaron and Russell Dauterman. So that should be a really interesting conversation. And then coming up later this month, on May 24th, just in time for the June release of the new Wonder Woman film, a look at the comic book origins of everyone's favorite Amazon, Diana. So check out the Comics Canon. It's available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and of course at their website, comicscanon.com. Okay, without further ado, let us begin our conversations first with David Fowlie about the Chicago Film Critics Festival, which starts this weekend at the Music Box Theater. So here's my short conversation with Dave Fowlie on Word Balloon. Happy to welcome Dave Fowlie to Word Balloon, Chicago film critic and longtime convention pal and comic store signing pal. It's good to talk to you, Dave.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Doing all right, man. You know, we're going to do an eventual long-form Word Balloon in the months ahead, but you've got a cool film festival going on this weekend in Chicago. Tell me about it.
Yeah, this is actually the fifth year for the annual Chicago Critics Film Festival. I'm a member of the Chicago Film Critics Association, and for the past 5 years, what's been going on is we have a certain group of critics within the association who go to festivals like Toronto, Sundance, South by Southwest, and other festivals. And basically, their idea was to take the best of what they saw and bring it back home and do like a festival showing all these films. So basically, you don't have to, go to Sundance or Toronto. You can just wait for this festival.
That's really cool. And you've been doing it for 5 years. So these are the best of the best. And obviously, are these the specific Chicago Critics' choice of what's the best of, or are these the winners of these other festivals?
They're not the winners. They're basically just like if you are, say, like, a film critic, or, imagine you going to a festival and you saw a movie that you thought was so great. You're like, man, I wish other people could see this back home.
Sure.
That's basically the idea behind it.
Okay, yeah, like a critic's choice. It literally is like a critic's choice.
Yeah, it's like a critic's choice. This is Chicago Critics Film Festival. It's basically the first film festival curated by critics.
That's great. I didn't realize that. Well, technically, actually, no. I was going to throw down and go, wait a minute. I know Ebert would do his thing, but actually that was down in Urbana, isn't it, where Ebert used to do his kind of Critics' Choice festival?
Right, and he still did that. I think it was at first called the Overlooked Film Festival, and he was championing films that not a lot of people had seen before that he loved, and now it's basically just called Ebert Fest, which is great in and of itself. But I think we're looking at what we're looking at here is, like I said, the from the fall to basically February or March or so, all the festivals that happen around there, these certain critics that wind up programming this festival pick the best. They talk to the studio, talk to the directors and the studios who basically are going to be distributing these movies, and say, hey, we want your films in our festival.
That's awesome. What's going to be, give us some of the titles and directors we can look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty great. The opening night film is probably going to be sold out by the time this is aired, but it's called The Little Hours, and it's a bawdy, raunchy period piece set in a monastery. And it stars John C. Reilly, Dave Franco, Aubrey Plaza, Kate Masucci, directed by Jeff Baena. Those last three talents are going to be there for a Q&A afterwards.
Wow.
So Aubrey Plaza, Kate Masucci, and Jeff Baena are all going to be there for a Q&A afterwards.
And Kate Masucci, she's from Garfunkel and Oates.
You got it.
And Aubrey Plaza, of course, from FX Legion and Parks and Rec, and Mike and whatever need wedding dates, and yeah, very funny woman.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm sure it's going to be an entertaining Q&A. So that's opening night. There's also, two films after that. There's one at 9:30 and one at midnight. So the goal is to just, pack the Music Box Theater here in Chicago on the north side from May 12th through the 18th, and basically, have a variety of films, from documentaries to shorts to features to animation, and pack the theater daily, and each day will basically have a filmmaker or actor present for Q&A for a particular film.
Cool. Wow, that's amazing. And I'm glad it's that long, too. Go on.
Yeah, so one film that I saw, I get access to some of these films so I could review them and preview them in advance to promote them. Mm-hmm. I know you'll probably like this a lot. There's a film at 11 a.m. on Saturday, May 13th. It's called Score, a film music documentary. So it's basically a documentary all about music composers and anything from Alfred Newman to Danny Elfman, to Tyler Bates, all these cats who are just amazing at scoring the soundtracks that we love so much. And
sure.
It opens. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It opens with Marco Beltrami having out in the desert. And he's playing a piano that's hoisted on top of a dumpster for the soundtrack to The Homesman, that Tommy Lee Jones movie.
Yes.
and he's basically did that to get the wind blowing, between the keys and the piano, and it's a stand-up piano, so he played that like outdoors. So the documentary is basically, it's going kind of like an overview about soundtracks in general over as kind of like a overview of film history, but it also goes into the details as to, how these composers go about approaching their work.
That's great, man. No, that sounds really, really cool. And again, I'm really glad that the festival is lasting as long as it is, because I know I'm working Friday and Saturday nights. So I'm like, oh man, I'm sure it's just like the Chicago Film Festival, where sometimes you'll see the list and it's like, oh, I can't go. Oh man, I'd really like to see that. Score sounds very cool. Are any of the films that you saw at festivals among the ones that we're going to see this weekend or this week?
No, I'm actually not really. I haven't been able to actually go out to those festivals like Toronto and Sundance or anything like that. But and that's why I look forward so much to this festival. Is it brings it all home for me.
Sure.
For me. There's a kind of, sometimes it happens, but it just so happens that there's somewhat of a theme here with some movies here. There's you saw it recently last year with Jerry Lewis's Max Rose, where it's kind of like these washed up talents, or these older actors playing washed up talents, or individuals who are looking back on their career and kind of contemplating where they are in life in
Sure.
their 90s.
Yeah, familiar.
So we have Harry Dean Stanton. Basically, he's playing the lead role in a movie called Lucky, and it's the directorial debut of actor John Carroll Lynch. Great character actor that you've seen in Zodiac and Gran Torino, and recently Jackie and The Founder. He played LBJ. He played LBJ in Jackie.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so this is his directorial debut, and it's a really nice character piece for Harry Dean Stanton. He is basically 90.
Yeah,
and kind of a Marvel guy. He was in Avengers, right?
I always forget that he was in Avengers. That's true, but you're right. Amazing character actor career. Repo Man,
he's been
the original Repo Man with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez, and
yep, mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course Paris, Texas, and
yes.
Alien. Yeah, and Alien, and this movie is kind of like an Alien reunion because Tom Skerritt is in it.
Wow,
and
he's getting up
Tom
there.
Skerritt's in it. yeah, he is, and it's just a nice piece. There's also David Lynch is in the movie as kind of his his friend, his barfly who's lost his tortoise.
Hilarious.
It's just a cool, nice character piece, And after that, so the director, John Carroll Lynch, is going to be there for a Q&A. That's Saturday evening. I know you're working, but then there's the 15th anniversary of. You ever hear of a movie called Southland Tales by Richard Kelly?
Of course.
Yeah.
He's a massive comic book guy, and there were graphic novels tied to Southland Tales when it came out.
There you go, exactly. So Richard Kelly's actually going to be there.
Wow.
For a Q&A after our 35 millimeter presentation of Southland Tales at 8:30 on Saturday, and I'm sure it's going to be great. We're gonna you get that's the cool thing about this festival is it's small enough and it's in the music box. There's a lounge next door. Afterwards, you can meet the director and hang out and talk to him. So it's a cool atmosphere.
Yeah, no, you're right. Music Box is an amazing old theater, especially when you go in. It has these incredible murals on the ceiling that kind of it projects like kind of a nightscape.
Exactly.
And it has a beautiful organ as well. And I don't know if anyone is between the movies is going to be playing the organ. They do that a lot on the weekends. But the Music Box is one of our art house theaters that are thankfully still around in Chicago. And they always do these incredible 70 millimeter presentations and great quirky documentaries and little films, and also great revival stuff as well. So it doesn't surprise me that it's hosting this festival. So where do people need to go for to get information on the festival?
All they need to do is go to ChicagoCriticsFilmFestival.com, or just go to Music Box Theater, and that's theater with an R-E at the end, .com.
Very cool. Excellent, man. I know also, and I want people to know where to find your critiques, because not only do you do great film critiques, but you also get a chance to do some really cool interviews with filmmakers as well. So where can we find your stuff?
You can find my work at keepingitreal.com. That's keeping-it-real, REEL.com.
Excellent. Are you doing a podcast at all, David?
I actually co-host. I'm kind of like a very frequent guest on this podcast for a fellow critic of mine, Ian Simmons. His podcast is Kicking the Seat. So you go to kickseat.com and you'll find his reviews and the podcast right there. He's great. He interviews a lot of directors and filmmakers as well. So, I after we screen movies and go to screenings, we usually just go over to the Golden Nugget and chat up the movie, and we record right there. So
that's a good idea. It got Golden Nugget. There you go. Nice. That's a great chain of coffee shops all over Chicago that I'm certainly fine. I'm in walking distance from one of the Golden Nuggets. So the one on Western. So I understand, and I don't blame you. That's great.
Hey, you know what? There's a couple more things I wanted to touch on that
Please.
You might be interested in. Monday night. I don't know if you heard about this movie that was at Tribeca. It's basically, what could be Burt Reynolds, one of his final films.
Yes, talk about that, please.
God bless him. It's called Dog Years, and it's directed by Adam Rifkin, who will be there for a Q&A afterwards. And he's also, again, playing, kind of like a octogenarian guy who's looking back on his life, and he has to mourn the passing of his beloved dog and the arrival of an invitation to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the International Nashville Film Festival. So he's playing an actor who's looking back in his life. So it's very interesting. Got Chevy Chase in it, it's interesting to see these actors. To me, and I'm sure to you, to see these actors kind of almost playing themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also get a chance to kind of flex their muscles. It is so hard for these guys, at a certain age to still get good roles. I mean, I even remember Morgan Freeman, and this was easily 15 years ago on a Charlie Rose interview. And it's like, so what do you look for, as far as roles? And Freeman, again, 15 years ago even, was like, well, I'm in competition with Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman, and we're all kind of going for, what's good out there. And, you don't want to just do crap. So it's really nice. I mean, and Burt Reynolds and Harry Dean Stanton are classic examples of guys that have just kept working. I know Reynolds has done his share of TV, things like Archer and Burn Notice in the last couple of years.
Right.
And, just to kind of keep himself out there, and certainly to try and I'm sure he itches. And I know I see in the Redbox and on demand on cable so many movies that he's made in the last 15 years or so. So it is nice. And even, like you said, when we said earlier, we acknowledged Max Rose, the Jerry Lewis film from last year. Look, I find these fascinating because it gives these guys who have had that kind of pedigree and career kind of a last call where it's like, yeah, listen, before I do go quietly into that final sunset, I still got it. And I think in the right projects, these guys are able to show that. I hope that that's the case with this Burt Reynolds film.
Yeah, I hope so too. I've heard some good things about it.
Cool.
I'm actually also excited for what's happening the night before on Sunday.
What's that? Oh, see, I'm free Sunday, so talk to me. What's happening Sunday?
Oh, good. Okay, you're going to like this. So Sunday night at 7 p.m., there's a movie called The Hero. Now, it's basically a role written for Sam Elliott. So he plays an aging Western acting icon.
Love him.
With his, that Sam Elliott golden voice.
Oh my God! Like the Marlboro Man come to life, and of course the cowboy in The Big Lebowski. If people don't know him by name.
Totally. And it basically says here that his best performances are decades behind him. He spends his days reliving old glories and smoking too much weed. with his former co-star turned dealer Jeremy, played by Nick Offerman.
Awesome.
Until a surprise cancer diagnosis brings his priorities into sharp focus.
Oh my!
Faced with his mortality, he soon strikes up an exciting, contentious relationship with a stand-up comic played by Laurie Prepon, that's Karen Page in the original Ben Affleck Daredevil.
Who is? Laurie Prepon was Karen Page in the first Daredevil movie.
I could be wrong. Am I wrong?
I don't remember her being Karen Page, but of course, Laurie Prepon from that 70s show and Orange is the New Black.
You're right. I'm confused. I'm thinking of Ellen Pompeo.
Oh.
There we go. So,
No problem.
Us critics, we don't know everything.
No, but also, dude, there's so many names, and they are so... It's Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman. I understand. It's okay.
There you go. And actually, Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones, is in this movie playing his estranged daughter.
Oh, wow.
So, and the director is Brett Haley, who also last worked with Sam Elliott in a great Blythe Danner dramedy called I'll See You in My Dreams.
Yes.
And The Hero, though, is it looks like just totally for Sam Elliott. And, I have seen Lucky with Harry Dean Stanton. I'm looking forward to Sam Elliott's this movie, but some of these roles, they seem very just Oscar worthy, Oscar bait. Some people say, but
sure.
For these actors, why not?
Of course. No, that's great, and I'm glad that writers are kind of thinking along those lines again, because I do think there is ageism just as much as there is sexism, and does it have to be a white guy kind of complaints that the audience have. And also just, the way that film is shifting to, especially blockbuster movies and stuff. I mean, they really are shifting to a young audience. And it's nice that not only the art houses, but also between on demand and stuff, that films are finding more platforms, like little films like this. And I think they're fascinating. And I think I'm glad there's a festival like this, that not only do you get to see the movie, but also get a Q&A with the filmmaker and stuff. So, yeah, I think I might ask you to pencil me in if you can, and sneak me under the curtain for Sunday night for Hero.
Yeah, no problem. You can be my guest.
Thanks.
Now, closing the festival on Thursday night is a movie that got rave reviews at Sundance this year called A Ghost Story, and it's directed by David Lowery. And it stars Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, and those three people are basically reuniting from David Lowery's film Ain't Them Bodies Saints.
Okay.
And David Lowery last directed the remake of Pete's Dragon last August.
Oh, okay.
So this is an unconventional take on a ghost story is what the movie's called.
Right.
So it's closing out the festival. I'm really excited to see that as well.
Interesting. Very, very cool. All right, one more time. It's the Music Box Theater, but theater is spelled RE.com. Is it just Music Box Theater or the Music Box Theater?
Just musicboxtheater.com, or go to ChicagoCriticsFilmFestival.com for the Chicago Critics Film Festival in our 5th annual year.
And running May 12th through May 18th.
You got it, buddy.
Awesome, man. No, Dave, seriously, I'm glad that we had the chance to talk at C2E2, and you said, hey, this is coming up. And it sounds great. And I'm glad you're involved with it. And, yeah, man, come back, and we'll do We'll do a summer movie review, and also would be interested in hearing about some of the filmmakers that you've had the opportunity to, sit down with one-on-one and talk. So I thought this was a good addition to a Bendis tapes, because these are the kind of little movies that Brian and I discover on our own and end up talking about. And this is a good laundry list to include in our recent Bendis tapes.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the promotion of both my site and the festival. And yeah, I like what you're talking about here. I got some good ideas for the future.
Cool, man. Excellent. Thanks again, man.
No problem.
Okay, that's Dave Fowlie, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I know I'll be going on Sunday night to check out Hero, that Sam Elliott movie. But man, the Burt Reynolds movie sounds cool. The Harry Dean Stanton movie sounds cool. The Chicago Film Critics Festival is happening this weekend again at the Music Box Theater, and you heard all the places to go to get more information. I can't go through it again because it's not handy, and I want to get this episode out for you because I've been wanting to for a while now. Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you very much, League, for your support, and really appreciate it. Everything you do for me via Patreon. Thank you for your subscriptions. They're helping me out in this time where I'm between regular jobs. I've got a part-time job right now at the CBS news station. I'm working a couple days a week doing overnight traffic. And in fact, if you're in the Chicago area, or if you want to even choose to listen via streaming, you will hear me Friday night into Saturday morning and Saturday night into Sunday morning. And I'll be on from midnight Central. Well, first of all, 11 p.m. Central Time Friday night into as long as 6 a.m. So between 11 p.m., there's a break where they play old-time radio for an hour at midnight, and I'm not on. And then I come back at 1 a.m. and go six reports an hour until 6 in the morning. And then Saturday night, I'm on starting at midnight, but we have the CBS Roundup. And sometimes I'm only on that maybe twice an hour, maybe 4 times. It depends on the length of the show. And I have a feeling with this Trump-Comey stuff, I'll be lucky if I'm on twice that hour. And then I'm on solid from 1 a.m. until 6 a.m., again, Central Time. So if you 6 times an hour on the 8s, 8 minutes after, 18, 28, 38, 48, and 58. And you'll hear me, and it'll show you what I'm doing part-time for them. And it's a nice part-time job, and it's helping pay the bills, but you're helping as well. So thank you again, League of Word Balloon listeners. If you like Word Balloon, if you think what I do is worthwhile, and I honestly can proudly say, as I enter this 12th year of doing Word Balloon, I've really been happy the last couple months with a lot of the episodes. I really think that I've got exceptional conversations with really cool people, and I think it helps inform your pop culture interests. Do you think it's as good as picking up a monthly magazine? Is it worth the price of a comic book a month? If you think so, and if you can afford it, I really appreciate the help. Thank you very much. Go to wordballoon.com, click on the front page. There's a Patreon right there, a Patreon ad right there, or you can go to patreon.com/wordballoon. And really, if you can spare it, I really do appreciate it. A couple more new listeners this week. I thank you very much for your subscriptions, and truly, thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. All right, without further ado, let us get into our Bendis tapes, Part 2. Brian Bendis, this is great, really fun conversation. We start with brand new content from Tuesday, and then we trail off into our original conversation that we wanted to release back in April, but it's okay, because it's still really interesting and relevant stuff. Great stuff about Defenders and Miles Morales and Jessica Jones. And also, hey, this Generations and Legacy stuff, it was on our mind in March as well. And Brian gets very candid about, that balance between the established heroes and the new legacy characters that have been coming out. And, is it just how Marvel's been handling it and the struggle to please different audiences with the Marvel product. It ain't easy. We've been talking about this with Dan Slott and Rob Salkowitz and Alex Ross, just to name a few wonderful conversations recently. Brian gives his 2 cents right now as well. So without further ado, here is Part 2 of the Bendis tapes. And initially, as Brian points out, I sound very frustrated and a little cross. I'm certainly not mad at him. I love him. He's my friend. So, but I'm happy to bring you our conversation, our newest conversation now on Word Balloon. Are we still on? Okay. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, welcome back. It's part 2 of our conversation. When we last left off, it was the press conference for Defenders.
I think it's only fair, John, for people to know the reason you sound so disgusted with the world is not because you're speaking to me. It's because we have been wrestling with technical issues for about a week. And it just happened again, and that's why you sound deflated. Not because you're not excited.
We just had another burst of it after like a week of trying to fix it, and I really thought he was scamming me. And I'm just like, come on.
Oh, that's funny. No, I didn't even think to do that.
Oh, yeah.
See, I've matured as I've gotten older.
Exactly. John, I've got one more thing to say, and then click. Who can forget those fine Bendis tapes years?
So I'm out with my daughter, Tabitha. She's 6 years old.
Okay.
Having a little daddy-daughter night tonight, and I said, oh, yeah, we gotta go get something for Mommy for Mother's Day. And she goes, oh, me and Sabrina, we already have that taken care of. I go, oh, yeah, what's that? She goes, well, Mommy's asleep. We're going to dye her hair. and then she just falls over laughing at just the idea of it, right? And I go, oh, sweetie, no, you're not. That's called a prank. That's actually something when you're trying to like zing somebody, not when you're trying to celebrate. And she said, well, Mommy said her favorite thing is the sound of our laughter.
Nice.
Yeah. How do you argue with that? I was like, Jesus.
Exactly. Anyway. Come on, Mom. We're doing it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You look great in pink.
No, it was funny. My wife actually has a color she can't stand, which is teal. Don't ask me why. She hates teal. All the kids think they look great in teal. And of course, this is a point of contention. And they all decided to dye her hair teal if they go do that. So we'll see. Pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, we're not a pranky house. It was quite a surprise to hear that.
Man, good luck, Alyssa. My God.
Exactly.
Hide.
Yeah.
Poor thing. Jesus. You tell me off the air. Are you guys big fans of Handmaid's Tale?
I haven't seen it yet. No, I was relating to you how impressed I was with the ability they had to market the show in the middle of this Trump media hurricane that never stops.
Yes.
And how he sucks so much like airtime and word time and press time out of everything that the movies and television shows and comics are just hard. It's hard to like let people know things are coming out. It's just because it's constant bedlam. And I'm not saying like I wish people were paying attention to me, but that's not. It's just I'm getting a lot more questions on Tumblr about like basic things that like we're trying to let you know, but there's no way to know because there's nowhere to tell people because it's so crazy. So I was impressed with Handmaid's Tale ability to like wait for a quiet moment in the hurricane and just like throw all their media right down the alley, just right. and was able to hit the target because that really is kind of what you have to do now.
Well, look at CNN. I mean, the history of comedy, I don't think ever finished. I think you're right that we were talking about that, and also this soundtrack of our lives. I mean, especially I'm working that part-time job at the news station overnight, and they've got CNN on, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that thing's playing. I've got it to set for my DVR, and there's like been one episode because of course there's always something newsy going on Thursday night when they're supposed to be showing this. It's crazy. Yeah,
and it's even funny now. Like this is the weird things I deal with. Like sometimes I like put things in my Tumblr queue that I'll like tweet later, like in the morning when I'm asleep.
Oh, so you set up to tweet while you're
I set up a tweet schedule just to like, sure. Hey, Jessica Jones trade's coming out, whatever,
Sure.
And now I don't. Because I don't want to tweet and something horrible happen while you like you really have to think that way.
No, I understand.
I'm really worried that something bad's going to happen, and I don't want to be like, oh, I tweeted like something innocuous during something tragic.
Oh, totally.
That's how I truly am worried about it.
Well, airlines have it in their media contracts that if there's a plane crash, you immediately pull the airline commercials because, God forbid. All right, and we'll go back to that fatal crash in 2 minutes. Fly Delta.
Oh, yeah. No, because that happened.
Of course.
That happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Interesting
Anyway.
times. No, and I mean, I understand. And you're aware of marketing with your stuff and everything. So yeah, it makes sense that you would find that admirable that they were able to do that amidst all.
No, because I've seen some of my friends and other people try and not be able to this year.
Sure.
Just like, these windows are really hard, or you have to be like a machine like Disney, like that level of machine to push out like your word,
Totally.
So it's an interesting, and again, with all the shit that's going on, for people who don't know, we're talking on the day Trump fired Comey, so it's an extra special crazy day.
Indeed.
So and everything seems very fractured and distracting. So that's kind of what we were talking about when we started talking about this.
This is true, and like a candle in the wind, word balloon makes a quiet drop in the sea of news and says,
it's our 12th anniversary. If anybody was keeping count.
So. Yeah, I did it because I didn't see that you had already posted the first half, and then I said, "Oh, don't bother. No one's listening to webcast podcast. This ain't a podcast day." And then we'll let people know. We'll make it new again.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. Hey, don't worry. People find this one. They always,
I worry.
No, I forgive me because I bought, or I should say, I got the Free Comic Book Day Guardian Defender twofer. And I went with a buddy because, of course, you want to double up. So Chicago Comics gave us 5 Free Comic Book Day books each.
Yeah, pretty standard. Yeah, a lot of people do that.
And that was great. So I'm like, well, he likes to only read a couple books. So I'm like, I'll get more. So I think he grabbed my my Guardian Defender book. But tell me, it was great. I went to Chicago Comics, and it was fun, and everybody was really happy to be there, and great lines. And
yeah, oh yeah, we had a wonderful Free Comic Book Day, and 90% of the time, Free Comic Book Day actually lands on my wedding anniversary.
Yes.
So I haven't, even on the years where I've done like really big Free Comic Book Day issues, I've not participated because I've been busy. So this one, it was 2 days later. So I was 2 days late from busy, so I could come. So me and David Marquez and David Walker did Things from Another World, and
great.
We actually did it at the end of the day. So we did it like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which was a dicey proposition. I thought maybe people had enough of, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I had already committed. Me and Fraction had committed to do to speak to journalists at a journalism conference that afternoon.
Oh, nice.
So it was either I do it late in the afternoon or I don't. We did it late in the afternoon. Oh my God, they were all there, and it was so lovely. It was so nice to see everybody, and literally just one lovely interaction after the other. My surrealness was one of the people in my line was the drummer from Fall Out Boy. And then he tweets something very nice about meeting me, completely blew up my Twitter feed. Like I've like a madness. Like I wasn't on Twitter most of the night, and I hopped on. I go, what? I couldn't follow what had happened, and it was I was in Fall Out Boy world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
They're from Wilmette. They're from my hometown.
Oh, look at that!
I swear to God.
All right. I always look at you like the lost Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, there's no question. Absolutely.
That's how I talked to our friends about it. That's how we refer to you.
Yeah, the father of Fall Out Boy. Let's not kid ourselves. Exactly.
Or the creepy uncle. One of the two.
Exactly. Hey, how you doing, boys? Wonderful. Keep playing your music.
All right. So I thought it seemed to me that Free Comic Day was a huge success yet again. Maybe even felt like more of a success because it hasn't been the best year for the market. So yeah,
I know, and I do think a lot of creators wisely said, "Hey, this is obviously meant for local retailers. Go out, support your store." And I saw, again, I went to one of the big stores in Chicago, but I know Art and Franco's store in Skokie did really well, and a few artists were there drawing for kids and stuff and giving out free sketches and stuff. No, it's always a big happening. I know at my Chicago stores, Challenger's another store you were at while you were in town.
Yeah, that's
doing Powers.
That's a good story.
Yep. Yeah, they won a Spirit of Light Eisner and everything. So, and did you see another? Well, actually, let me ask while we're talking about Free Comic Book Day and specifically the Defenders issue. I have not had a chance to read it. I know there was a reveal.
Yes.
And can we talk about said reveal?
Yes. After I cough. You ready?
Yeah.
My wife just had some sushi and there was wasabi where there shouldn't have been.
Ah.
And it's been about an hour of me I go into old Jew mode real fast. I go, yeah!
See?
So, yeah. I can get there no business. So
I hear you, man.
So I apologize if I'm extra snortily on the Skype. But anyway, so Free Comic Day, we have the reveal of our big returned villain. One of those villains no one ever thought would return. We're very excited about it. Diamondback.
Oh, nice.
Is, returning. My Tumblr feed is filled with varying questions of how could you and how could he and how could they and but we saw him die. My favorite.
Yeah, I was going to ask. All right, so what was his status quo prior to you bringing him back?
No, we saw him die. Like he died on his own exploding knife on top of like on panel.
Was it one of your books or was it someone else's?
Oh no, this is like in the 60s. This is like when the first stories, like the late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, nice.
So like the part of the Luke Cage origin is that Diamondback is Luke Cage's best pal. They used to run the streets together.
Oh.
They used to do mob errands together, and there was a girl, and between the two of them, the girl chose Luke. So William Diamondback set up Luke, and Luke went to prison, where Luke became Luke Cage, eventually coming out and seeking revenge for what happened to him. And then in that adventure, Diamondback, who was big on knives, had an exploding knife, and it exploded on him. So it is the most personal story of Luke's career, and it certainly makes the stakes of the Defenders as personal as humanly possible. And considering that what Luke blames him for, rightly so, which ended up in that girl dying. That girl was murdered by the mob because of Diamondback's actions. So it's the big tragedy of Luke's life that he clearly and can gleefully blame on Diamondback, and now Diamondback is impossibly back and seems to have an inordinate amount of information on ways to attack all four of the Defenders, which he did in retaliation for three of them attacking what would be his brand new center of his bid to be Kingpin.
Interesting.
So we got Diamondback and Black Cat set up for a really cool gang war through the streets of Marvel, and a real motivation for the Defenders to team up together and make a real go of it as Defenders and not just as solo street acts with issues with other people. So they're going to try to make a statement as the Defenders, which we'll get into in the very first issue coming out in just a couple of weeks. And
also some more hints of what's to come in our conversation about the Defenders that we recorded last month.
Oh, yes, the memento of podcasts. Yes.
It's true. We're timey-wimey if you're a Doctor Who fan. We're going to start in the present and then jump back to the past for part two. You
can hear me back 3 weeks ago when I was young and impressionable.
That's true. I don't remember if we actually finished our Jessica Jones conversation about the most recent issue, because we talked about her and Danny having some time together, but we really didn't get into Maria Hill's story. And again, you introduce the subject in the conversation that's coming, but we have the opportunity now with 7 and 8 out there that we've kind of seen Maria Hill's story progress a bit and everything, and her bleeding from her abdomen wound, and also Jessica being on the scene is surrounded by some Maria life model decoys, and also another confrontation coming with Sharon Carter, correct?
I like how you're proving to me that you read it. That's so sweet.
Well, every now and then like, for instance, my lack of knowledge on Diamondback. I do want you to know I've been reading. No.
Diamondback, listen, beyond the Luke Cage TV show, Diamondback was as inside baseball as it gets.
Okay, and I was going to ask, that's that same character.
Like, you shouldn't feel bad that you didn't know this. This is one of the, like people who watched Luke Cage are now, and only know Diamondback from that show,
yes,
are questioning what I just said and looking at Wikipedia to go, oh, he's right. That was what happened in the comic, because that's not beat for beat what happened on the show.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask as well. I'm glad you brought that back. So very
yeah.
good.
So, but we are going, and we'll continue to be with comic book continuity and the universe that these characters were born. And it's always a question I get like almost every day. So I like to point out that we're building on what we're doing. Like Luke and Jessica are married in the Defenders comic book, but not in the TV show. You know, just we're years ahead of them in continuity, or a version of continuity.
No,
so
but I remember when Hickman took over Avengers, his first issue looked very much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know Jerry Duggan with his first issue of Guardians. You know, I think made nods to the cinematic universe as well, and that's good. I mean, obviously, it's a jumping on point. Makes sense.
Sure, no, but anything that's a marketing plus, anything that gets people to look is good. Sure. You know what I mean? As long as you're not lying, as long as like you open a book, wait a minute, there's no Rocket Raccoon in this.
Right.
You know, you don't want to do that, but excuse me, but yeah, you know, it's fun to have these platforms where millions of people are seeing, like millions of people have seen Jessica Jones.
Yes.
Millions of people have not read Jessica Jones. So, but it's nice to have that base in which we can, turn some heads, and we do.
No question. And also, I like thematically. You talked about it in the press conference, or I should say, Tom and Dave talked about it in the press conference, but we talked about it, and you'll hear it later on about how in the grounded world of the Defenders, and certainly in Jessica Jones, we get these moments where they're sitting like in a sidewalk cafe, and all of a sudden, you know, Thor flies by real fast and stuff. And it's that kind of imagery to both, you know, set this thing and be very grounded and it be like a realistic story, but also reminding people it's still the Marvel Universe.
Marvel Universe, which is always what we did with Jessica Jones and even on Daredevil. You know, if there's a chance to, you know, have Nova fly by, it also, you know, because for story-wise, it also, it's not just being cute. You're kind of giving perspective to the series. You're saying, you know, Jessica's down here for her reasons, and she looks up and will have feelings about, I could have been up there. I could be up there right now, but I'm not, or I don't want to be, or I don't feel I could. All those things are very interesting. And so the juxtaposition of what would be a traditional Marvel comic versus where Jessica's head is at is always one of the appeals of her, you know.
Agreed.
But may I say one second, if I could? Hold on. I'm going to take a drink. But, you know, when I just said about the shows and the movies really help market these books.
Yes.
Some people fall into that mindset where they think that means that we're following along with the movies and the TV shows, which is not what happens. The movies and the TV shows follow the books. That's always the way. You know, they cherry pick out of the books what will make the best shows. So we continue on our path. I go down my road with my story. I don't now try to tailor my story towards what I think that audience will do. I want them to get a different experience from the comics than they would. And also I like when people say, oh my God, Guardians the most. The Guardians audience was the most hungry for more than any audience of any of these franchises. And I would get so many. Guardians was my first book.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love comics now. From that, as much as I did on Ultimate Spider-Man, crazy. So, but what works is that people go, oh my God, I love the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, and they go, oh, then you should read the comic because you know DNA did this, and then Sam Humphries did that, and then Brian did this, and then they get into it, and then or they see. Guardians Volume 2 here. Don't know if you've seen it yet. And Guardians Volume 2 has a different origin of Star-Lord than we have in the comics, so people can read and compare and contrast. It's cool.
Jerry and Aaron's
No, the classic origin of Star-Lord, which I reinterpreted in the very beginning of my Guardians run.
Yes.
Because that was like a statement to me of like where I thought people didn't know how cool Star-Lord is, like that his origin is as good as Spider-Man's if you really break it down to story beats.
Mm-hmm.
And so we told, me and Steve McNiven, we told the origin.
Yes.
In our .1 issue, just as a starting point. But that was material from the original creators that we unpacked, not unlike writing I looked at it like I was doing like the ultimate edition of Star-Lord.
Understood.
Like we're going to slow down and tell this story just like we did for Peter Parker.
Yeah. No, I have that.
That's all original material.
I have that black and white Star-Lord original. Wasn't it Steve Englehart, I want to say, wrote it?
Yes. I do want to say that too. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I apologize. But
Did you see, speaking of Englehart, the History Channel superhero 2-part documentary?
No, I didn't. How was it?
Honestly, I have to say, the first 2 hours, I felt like, all right, we've seen this documentary a million times, and I was a little disappointed. Second part was great, because it really emphasized the heroes of color, more women, and it got into things. But it was great for a variety of talking heads. Sana Amat was really good. Gail Simone did great. Wade did great. Steve Englehart did a nice hunk on the original Secret Empire, and it was fantastic. And,
nice.
I was surprised, though, because they didn't have him talk about Batman. And that kind of surprised me, because they certainly spent a lot of time on Frank Miller and Dark Knight, and they had this psychologist talking head say, Batman was a joke before Frank Miller. And I'm like, I wouldn't quite say that. I'm like, I think Danny O'Neill and Steve Englehart.
That's not true.
Yeah, Marshall Rogers, Neil Adams. I'm like, there's about 6 or 7, if not a dozen guys that would be happy to have a discussion with you.
And if I'm not mistaken, about 25 years.
Yeah.
In between.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're talking about the Batman TV show versus the Dark Knight.
Right. And
the jump.
And from a mainstream standpoint, I do understand that. But it's like, the comics kind of took care of that really about 4 or 5 years after Batman. Thank you. Not even that long. Really months
these
after
documentaries. These documentaries are very funny. You get offered them weekly.
Sure.
And that was one. I just was in Atlanta. I couldn't do it.
Interesting.
And but what's weird about them is you can tell from the way they invite you to be part of it is that. I like when they're interviewing and then they'll piece together what the documentary is based on what they have.
Yes.
But sometimes, particularly with news organizations, you'll see that they've already outlined the documentary and have already decided what it's about before they find out what we're going to say.
Yes.
And so they basically start looking for people to fill in the lines of dialogue that they want for their documentary versus actually discovering something.
Totally agree.
And when I see that, I kind of disinvite myself because I'm like, oh, you've already decided what the truth is. That's not. Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
No, I agree.
I did this. I just did the one I said yes to that I'm really happy I said yes to was I'm part of the Nat Geo documentary series coming out called Year 1000. But it's all
about it. Talk to me. I
think they're just announcing it soon. But it's it's all futurists, of which I'm the stupidest. Not joking. By the way, I'm not being. You'll see, I am not being cute. there is a. I saw the list. I'm like, I should. That's not. I'm not. Okay. I'm the plucky comic relief for this piece. But anyway, the day I was there, I met Sid Mead. That's who was there. It was cool,
I don't know.
So,
who's that guy?
He designed all the greatest sci-fi designs of all these amazing movies and stuff. He's just one of my heroes.
Oh, cool.
You can Google it and you'll be like, oh, I know who that is.
I felt the same way when I was on Prophets of Science Fiction and they had all these PhD guys talking about Jules Verne.
Yeah, I remember that. I have this vision of some great scientist saying something about climate change, and then it cuts me going, so how you make a goblin bomb anyway, so.
Nice. That's awesome, man. That's really cool that you're doing a.
So, but in this, and my point was that, when I got there, it seemed that they were literally asking people, what do you think the future will be and how do you think we're going to get there? Not, here's what we think the future is going to be. Tell me
fit this
You know
cookie
what I mean?
cutter. Yes, I know exactly
Yeah,
what you mean.
and I already saw like the first episode, and I was like, yeah, see, they did it right, and they molded it together from the pieces that they had, they sculpted, and that was cool.
It's
So if sometimes when you see that, and particularly when you see like a first episode that looks very traditional, they pretty much put it together
right.
that way.
And honestly,
and again, I don't know these people. God bless them for even trying, but that's the difference sometimes.
Well, and honestly, I emphasize the second part was really good, and they did hit new territory, came at it from different angles, and it was a more Morgan Spurlock production.
Yeah, they're good dudes.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to make a documentary, and that's a choice.
You know what I mean? When you see a sheet, did you ever get one of those? You get one of those from the Prophets of Science people?
What kind of sheet? Oh, in terms of like a
way organized with their thoughts.
Yes.
Like there's organized and there's we want you to say this.
Right. Oh no, absolutely.
I won't do the documentary so they tell me what they want me to say.
No, and you're right. And no, my guys the science fiction guys were great, and they really wanted our individual thoughts on Lucas and Asimov and Jules Verne were the episodes I worked on. So yeah, that was great.
And by the way, for people who thought that me complaining about the level of quality of documentary I'm being invited to be part of sounds shitty, I apologize.
Covering his ass every day.
No, listen, I sound a little, but the reality is I get invited to these things, and I've learned from whatchamacallit, from experience that's when I see a documentary, I go, why don't I like this? It's because this was written, this wasn't discovered.
Well, yeah, and also again, I feel like I can appreciate 10 years ago when History Channel did a similar documentary that, okay, it's less known. But now it's like, okay, we've done this a lot, both independent producers and networks. Mm-hmm. It's time for new stuff. And in fact, I've been expecting it because of the innovations in comics from the last 25 years, or almost 30 years. If you go back to the 90s, the image revolution is a very important thing, and certainly with the success of Walking Dead shows that, and will only continue to as more image books become other media properties and things. And they did a lot on Deadpool. I mean, they leaned into what the movies and television are that are out there, which is good, because there are some left field and not obvious choices like Superman and Batman that have become.
There should be like a Wolf of Wall Street / the Big Shot story of the comics in the 90s.
Oh yeah, totally. Don't steal.
There should be an HBO movie about how the comic industry completely fucked itself.
Sure, Carl Ichin and Ron Perlman and all those guys. Yeah, they all should be part of the story. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Toy Biz, everything.
Yes,
I'm with you.
I mean, there's fascinating stuff that's happened in this market over and over.
No, you're 100% right. I'm gonna have to talk to my documentary friends, and we got to fire that up.
You like that one, right?
There you go. I think you're right, man. No, those have been the most interesting.
Kirby biography.
What? Say it again.
This is what should go on this year. There should be Jack Kirby, major Jack Kirby biography, which there has never been.
True.
He should be up for either a posthumous Kennedy Center honor or whatever the Nobel Prize for Literature is. Because at this point, it is inarguable that he and Stan are major, not just in comics, but of all literature of all time.
Yeah.
All right. We are well within, 100 years of this will have gone by. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's a major achievement. The awards, the accommodations to these men have not equaled their achievement. And Jack Kirby in particularly, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Stan's still alive, so they remember to give him things.
Yes, and Danny Fingeroff's working on his biography with Stan and everything. So no. No,
but and even like Disney, they made him there's a special Imagineer of all time award at Disney. He's getting one, as he should.
Certainly.
But I think that there's a lot more can be done for Stan and Jack.
Agreed. They're like Walt Disney and Jim Henson and Edgar Rice Burroughs and Arthur Conan Doyle in terms of making.
You are 100% correct.
Yeah,
and they should, but are not still seen this way. Stan more than Jack because he's still here.
Yes.
and he's funny and he's cute. You know what I mean? So people see him in the movies and stuff, and people remember him.
Oh yeah.
But I as time goes on, you're sitting there going, all right, the entire culture is wrapped around these characters now. The entirety of it.
Well, and getting back to your documentary idea, it would be great to hear a Jack Kirby counterpoint to the Marvel story, because I'm sure you've heard that radio air check when it was Jack's 70th birthday, I am for always will be fascinated by Jack's relationship to all of this. Yep.
Yeah, because again, Marvel is not a thing; it's people. So the people who run Marvel at that time, many years ago, none of which who run it today.
True.
Right. The people who run it today made good on his legacy.
Yes.
Some people get lost in that Marvel, like the corporations aren't people. You know what I mean? Like our government. Sometimes they get lost in the idea. Yeah. And there was an old joke Cat Goldthwait had about getting mad at Ronald Reagan for how the country's run is like getting mad at Ronald McDonald when you get a bad cheeseburger. and like literally sometimes people get mad at Spider-Man when they're mad at Marvel or something, but there's people who run it and it's been different people at different times with different agendas. Right. Sure. And I'm fascinated by that tumultuous decades of time where he would come and go and re-sign contracts and then get mad that he did it. I would love an exhaustive documentary about that.
Agreed. No, I think you're right, and
not just
you get little glimpses when he spoke to Will Eisner, and it's on that Will Eisner documentary.
Shop Talk.
Yes.
Shop Talk.
The actual when it's transcribed in the Dark Horse Shop Talk book, but when you actually hear Jack and Will have that conversation, no, you know where his heart is at that moment.
Yeah, at that moment. And then there's another conversation from 10 years later that he has a different feeling about it.
There you go.
And that's the part that fascinates me. Not that he was screwed over and that sucks, but that there was a lot more layers to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot more personalities to it. And I've read almost everything there is to read on it. And I don't know. I think that story is interesting.
Totally agree.
And by the way, most of Jack's story is biography ready. Really.
Agreed.
His wartime stuff, him coming down to punch Nazis. I mean, you can make a movie out of that easy. So
I quite agree. We have enough here for a fine intro to part 2 if you want to wrap up.
Oh, is that it?
No, whatever you want to do. I mean, hey, we can make it a 3-parter.
No, we're good. I'm rambling because I have to go right now and I don't want to.
No, I respect that. And no, thanks for doing the extended intro for part 2. And this is, we're going to get into a lot of subjects that we didn't.
So what anniversary of us is this?
January of 2006 was our first conversation.
So it's our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah. Well, 10 and change. 11, or yeah. No, it would be 10 would have been last year, so it'd be 11.
All right, Mazel Tov to us.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, man.
You got me nothing.
Well, exactly. And then, what happened was you just did a regular word balloon, and then we saw each other at the New York Comic Con, and you're like, God, this has been great. Or no, we did like the 3-part.
Chicago was first. I saw you in Chicago first.
Well, very first. That's funny. You really remember meeting me in Chicago?
Yeah.
That's nice. Thanks, man. Well, it's true. I just know that then that was actually August of 2005 when I said, hey, come on, word balloon. And I handed you an MP3 disc of, like, my shows. And
showed me your nipple, if I'm
you're
mistaken.
Right. Yes, with the piercing, yes.
That was your move back then. It worked.
Ew.
You got the show.
Ew.
I know that's how you got Loeb. Loeb never does these, so.
I got to get him back. He hasn't been on.
Well, number one, may I say, congratulations on your anniversary.
Thanks,
congratulations on, by the way, sticking to your guns and doing the show that you want to do.
Amen.
All right, the way you want to do it.
Thanks, buddy.
As the years go by, you should be very, very proud of that. And I'm very, very, very proud to be part of this broadcast, and I always have been.
It means a lot.
So, thank you. And as we start part 2 let's say thank you to everyone who always checks in on us. Man, we love you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so listen to whatever the bullshit I said before, and we'll see you soon.
Well, let's see if we stay true to our word, but we're going to try and do more of these this year.
Yes, I really do. I would like to do more of these. I think about it all the time.
No, I know you do, and it's all right. Hey, man.
And I say no to many podcasts specifically because, well, if I have time to do that, then I have fucked over John.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you.
John comes first, and then everybody else.
Wow. Well, thank you. Welcome back.
Please.
You know that. It's
all right. And I was glad, like, today we have something to talk about, so that's good.
Yeah, as we're recording the news hit today, and please, it's your news, so tell everyone what they already know. Yeah.
So when we announced today, when I woke up, Paramount announced that Paul Greengrass is going to direct the Torso movie. Wow. And Brian Egeland, who wrote L.A. Confidential, is writing it as we speak, and we're very excited about it. We've known for a long time. This is like for people who want to know how this stuff works. We've known about it for months and months. I told a couple close friends, and you're like, "Well, that's awesome." And then you just one day you got to let the studio announce it. You know.
Sure.
So,
of course.
And also, to me, it feels more real when they announce it. That's I wait. Like when they say it's real, you know. And then. And yeah, so we're very excited. I mean, this project is as tumultuous as anything ever that Hollywood's ever had. We're almost at year 20.
Wow.
Of developing this as a feature. First, myself and Mark and Draco did drafts when Miramax bought it a long time ago, and then Paramount bought it years ago for David Fincher, and then that. Didn't happen, even though it got very, very close. People know it was greenlit and then ungreenlit. And then another director, the guy who directed the Pete's Dragon movie, he was going to direct it. That was weird that was that's a good example because that got announced a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. That wasn't really like a done deal. Like I'm not even sure how that got announced. You know, like there's stuff like that. Like you know, like some things just go away. Like I have a deal right now that's happening. I'm not sure it's going to happen. Like, I would never tell anybody about it.
Okay.
Because I'm just not sure it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got announced. And then I was like, all right, they announced it. And then it went away like 40 minutes later in real life. Like you know. So when we got the call that Paul Greengrass was circling, I got very excited. I'm a big fan of his, legitimately.
Sure. Yeah, the good Bourne Identity movies are Paul Greengrass.
Probably equal to... as big of a fan as I am of David Fincher's. And what I was excited about David Fincher making Torso was that I did it's like, I don't care what he does with it. I'm interested in, like, I just want to see what he does.
Sure.
Like, I'm not going to, like, but because it was a genre that David Fincher has some familiarity with, I kind of in my head kind of had an idea of what it might be. Whereas with Paul Greengrass, I particularly love Captain Phillips so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited to see that energy applied to this story. And I've not seen that before. I've not seen one who directs like Paul Greengrass direct a serial killer movie or this, you know, biography of mess that handles this part of his life, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's just as a film fan, I'm really excited about that. That's honestly my honest assessment. Like I've had time to think about it.
Sure.
And I'm dying to see what he does. I'm dying to visit the set and see how he does it. Literally just on my own selfishness. Like
no, I get it.
I to see how this sausage is made because it's so different than how I've seen other people do it.
Yeah, he's a distinct auteur, no question. Yes. And that's why it'll be fun to see in his hands, no question.
Even if the movie doesn't work, I have the same feeling I have by David Fincher, which is if, God forbid, everything just didn't work, it's still a Paul Greengrass movie that has interest for film historians. You know what I mean? Like it becomes, just because of who he is, it becomes part of something, and I'm very excited about that.
That's cool.
And honestly honored. I talk, both Mark and I are just really, really honored that this quality of filmmaker finding us.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will go, but it really, at the moment, sounds very much like it's going to go. Well, we'll see.
Have you had contact with him yet or no?
Not directly. It's all, done
people.
through people. It's all done through people, but I've heard nothing but good stuff coming out of his area. And the stuff that he is interested in is the reason I drew the book in the first place.
Fantastic.
So that's why I didn't feel like this. It's like I'm dying. I have to talk to him right now. Like I'm like what I heard. I was like, yeah. And I've read the outline, and I'm like, okay, you got it.
Excellent. I read, and you tell me if this is something that whoever wrote it. I'm not sure. I only saw it in one site where they were talking about this potentially being a franchise. And I guess I was confused given where Torso takes place in Elliot Ness's life. That if they're thinking franchise, I'm like, that's a weird place to start. I mean, they could flash back, I suppose. No, but there's a way. It's funny because the word franchise means different things for different people. Mm-hmm. Hold on a second. My daughter is texting me. No problem. Hold on, just letting me know where she is. Okay, good. And but yeah, so there's franchise and franchise. It's a weird thing, but you got to remember the Untouchables TV show ran for like an insane amount of years. Like I think it's not in Gunsmoke territory, but it's certainly in ER territory. Well, and it was 39 episodes a season back then. I mean, it was, and 2/3 of a year, or 3/4 of a year, basically. And the book it's based on, it's only 130 pages. Yeah. So, I think by episode 6 they were off into their own stuff on the TV show. So we'll see. From my understanding and my research with the character, there's certainly many stories to tell. Sure. Yes. So if there's a way to angle this story to tell those other stories, that'd be cool. Oh, sure. I just again, it's unique. It's a unique thing to see the word franchise when there's a beginning, middle, end to a story. You're right. Because like Prime Suspect, it was, I guess, technically a franchise. It was television, but that it's. I mean, and she continued to have missions, and obviously it was fiction, but not the happiest trajectory. And again, like when you compare it to the superhero franchises, it's like, well, you think the hero's going to win, and again, I'll let if people are curious and want to read what happened to Elliot Ness, we've discussed it a bit. Yes. In the past. I mean, so there's evidence, and of course there's Wikipedia. It's interesting. And there's again, evidence, and there's Wikipedia. Well, I'm sure that is. I was laughing because that is how I look at Wikipedia. Like it's a place where you start, but then you got to go find out if any of the thing you just read is true. I to name drop. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. This podcast has already dropped, but 2 weeks ago I was in Utah for a con, and I was interviewing Marv Wolfman, and it went really well. Yeah. It's on I liked it to listen to later. Oh, good. Oh, excellent. But yeah, how'd it go? It really did go well, because the first time he was on Word Balloon, podcasts were new. This was going way much longer than he expected. I thought it was just going to be a 10-minute interview. It's like, all right, whatever. And no, I mean, he knows how long a panel is and stuff. But no, he was great, and he answered questions. And but the first question I asked him was, I did see, and I thought it was a weird little credit, that DC short, it was inconsistent at DC to get your name at the front of a story, and especially if you were doing the House of Mystery kind of anthology stories and stuff. And, he tells the story on the podcast, but basically he got, because his name was Wolfman at first, the censors, the Comics Code was like, Wolfman, what are you doing? And it's like, no, that's the writer's name. And they're like, really? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, all right, fine. So that's funny. And because of that, writers got their names on the fronts of stories and stuff. And it was in Wikipedia. And I said, I read this in Wikipedia, so it may not be true. He's like, nothing on Wikipedia is true. And he's like, I swear to God, I've had like a million things I've tried to change over the years, and it's me, and they just won't accept it. And it's like, all right. Yeah, no, I've had literally the exact same situation happen. Yeah. My mother-in-law had years ago written all kinds of stuff on my Wikipedia page that I didn't think needed to be there.
and I went to delete it, and the person who runs my Wikipedia page, who I have no idea who it is, or if they're still with us, I have no idea, would not let me, and refused to allow me to do so. And I remember that was a weird feeling. I don't know how to say it.
Well, that's why.
Like,
so,
I'm Brian Bendis.
Well, that's why. So, like,
what's the source? My existence.
When the third Elliot Ness movie is him, fighting a zombie horde.
Oh my God, I would love that.
All right, now it's real.
No, and it's Paramount. Maybe we can do like an Ethan Hunt, Elliot Ness team up. Oh, I got it worked out. Transformer Elliot Ness. Oh my God.
There you go. And of course, it's the Enterprise.
You wouldn't see that movie, Elliot Ness versus the Transformers.
I'd rather see like the Enterprise beam him up. Mr. Ness, we need you to fight the Klingons.
Great. Oh my
God! Untouchables
God.
in space.
Watch that in 2 seconds. You laugh. You'd watch that in a minute.
Yeah,
You'd be in line. You'd be first there.
I'll be interested to see who they cast, and most likely an unknown.
So. For Elliot Ness.
Yeah.
I will let you know when they announce it.
Have you heard things?
I've heard things.
All right.
I've heard things.
Exactly, De Niro. All right.
Yeah.
I
will be playing all the parts, if that's okay.
Hello.
Of course, I haven't spoken to anybody, but I'm sure I can kind of tell that's where we're going.
I think we're looking for a Brian Bendis type.
Yeah. Yeah. They got a million guys and give them that Brian Bendis feeling. Anyway.
Very nice. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's classy.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Huge.
Our mutual buddy David Engel, producing the film after the success of Straight Outta Compton.
Tremendous.
So our dirtbag friend David Engel is now a legitimately prestige picture Hollywood producer.
That's awesome. I can't wait.
Right? I mean, Straight Outta Compton was an Oscar movie, and so was Paul Greengrass is an Oscar dude. So
totally.
These are prestige projects, and
heavy hitters, man.
Couldn't be proud of him.
That's excellent, man. He'll never return my calls now.
But did he before?
He will. He will. What are you talking about? He'll want to talk boxing. We're getting into a good season of boxing coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly.
I'm just saying. So, no, that's awesome. I look forward to visiting him on the lot, like a Robert Evans or whatever, and his office on the Alfred Hitchcock building or whatever.
Exactly like a Robert Evans.
Like a Bob Evans. Anyway. The bungalow next door to me is occupied by Cary Grant. So.
Every time I see a clip of it, it keeps showing up on cable, that movie.
Kid stays in the picture?
Yeah, every time I see a little leaf and a little blip of it, I'm like, holy shit, what?
I love that movie. I love the way they made that with the photographs and kind of doing the 3D panorama look and everything. I love it. It's excellent. In fact, 5 came back. I think we might have talked about this book. I was trolling Twitter waiting for you, and 5 Came Back is this really neat book about the established movie directors that went to World War II and did all the propaganda films. It was Frank Capra, John Huston, John Ford, William Wyler, and who was number 5? Oh, it was George Stevens.
Oh,
it's an amazing book, so well researched, and they made a documentary. And the author was talking about, the documentary just debuted at Lincoln Center tonight. I'm so proud. I can't wait for this thing to get out there. So look for that in the months ahead. That's a new documentary. And
cool.
Really interesting. Really, really interesting. What they were doing before World War II, how the war affected them after World War II. And, I mean, these are powerhouse film directors. I mean, yeah, you heard the 5, so.
Sure, yeah.
These are exactly even to kids that turn their nose up to black and white movies. Like, no, these guys, you really should pay attention to their work. They're geniuses. So,
wow,
yeah. So, anyway.
Right.
So yeah, I'm curious because I don't know what kind of archival film they have as far as the directors go, but yeah, I wonder how they're going to present the information given that everybody's dead. So
you know what? But sometimes these were the movies that really have the cool footage or. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Sometimes what sparks the whole idea in the first place.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that's the thing. The book is amazing. The book is absolutely worth reading if you're interested. It's 5 Came Back.
Reading for fun. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, remember?
Holy shit.
I know what you mean.
Holy crap.
So there you go. So now there's a few new announcements. You got Defenders coming up in the months ahead?
Yes, Defenders. We're very, very jazzed about Defenders. So it's me and it's David Marquez and Justin Ponsner, who we've been a team together since Miles Morales, and we did Iron Man and Civil War II.
Yep.
And this project has been cooking for a while, which I say because I think sometimes some projects need to cook a little longer than they do. This one did, and it is perfect. Like it's just really the perfect creative palate cleanser for me and David after Civil War. It is something that I've really said when I'm done with Guardians, I'm going to make a grand effort to return to the streets of Marvel and build them into something, evolve them into something more modern yet very scary. And between this and Jessica Jones and Miles, I really have, and even in the Iron Man books, I have a real place to do that. And plus Charles Soule and I are very much on the same page with a lot of the stuff with the characters. So we have really big plans to really shake up the streets of the Marvel Universe and really add some scary elements that weren't there before. That will feel very real, like the 70s. I was thinking like 70s Marvel comics felt more like real. You know what I mean? Like and I just wanted to put that back in without being preachy or lecturing or anything. Just a more of a reflection. And also, you know, we got these characters that don't necessarily make a good team. As individuals, as a team. And so what will happen is on Free Comic Book Day, we have a brand new story in the Guardians of the Galaxy Free Comic Book by Jerry Duggan and team. And our first chapter of Defenders is in that book, and it's a big one. I literally pitched it as Born Again ×4. So you want to check that out because a lot of shit's going to hit the fan fast.
So did you write a portion of that story, or it's woven into Jerry's story, or both?
No. Like the Free Comic Book Days are like flip books. They're like
so it's half and half. It's half Guardian.
Half. So there's a Spider-Man one that's Chip, and then there's one that's me and Jerry, and that's got Guardians and Defenders on the cover, but it's Guardians. And but. I am really, really excited about this. It took a lot of research I was doing for Murder Incorporated as well. But I had all these notes and ideas for things, and Defenders really lets me do all of it, and it also lets me, lets me return to New Avengers without calling it New Avengers.
Who's the lineup? Give us the lineup again.
Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Daredevil. But already in the very first issues is Blade and Paladin and Punisher and just White Tiger and Spider-Man. And it's the streets of Marvel. So the core is the four.
Okay.
But the landscape is huge. It's Godfather 2 is what we're aiming for.
Funny.
It's elaborate. And so all of these players are involved. So anyone you've ever thought about at street level will appear in this book.
Well, if the Sons of the Dragon don't have at least an advisory capacity,
Sons of the Dragon, Daughters of the Dragon, Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, I could keep going.
Attaboy.
Kingpin,
nice. Hammerhead.
I got a Kingpin Iron Fist scene in issue 2. I'm so fucking proud of.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I was like, no one's done this before. It's just when you find those little connections between characters that haven't been shown, that are just obviously right there if you think about it for 2 seconds. Like there are parties that Wilson Fisk and Danny Rand would both be at.
Sure.
Even things like that. There are circles they would both know.
Yep.
And
that's true. That hasn't ever happened where they've
been second. And I just you get really jazzed when the pieces start coming together.
Sure.
When you take a character like Jessica Jones, who's absolutely no business being on a team, what could possibly motivate her? and you'll find out in the first issue.
That's excellent. We can save this for a longer conversation later, but I've really been enjoying, obviously, you and Michael back on Jessica Jones, and Michael's art makes the Marvel Universe, especially at the street level, look more real because
it's so crazy. He hasn't missed a beat.
No.
Some people, their style changes or they can't get it back. You know what I mean? They return to the scene of the crime. They just can't get it back. Godfather 3. And
that's an old movie. I don't know if our audience would actually know what that movie is, but you go on.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, you want to go down this road, man. I with the 4 little children, one of which is a full-blooded teenager.
Yes.
At this point, so her and her friends are in their. We're 14 and we want to see horror movies.
Oh my!
And so no, it's great because all they know is fucking Conjuring. Or whatever, whatever's out that week, right?
Yes, I know.
But over the years, there's quite a handful of outstanding horror movies. So
absolutely,
I got to show them. I think I told you I showed them the Blair Witch Project, and I told them it was a true story, and they all fucking bought it until they read the credits, and someone got accredited for the score, and one of them goes, "Why is there a score on the documentary?" I mean, they fucking bought every second of it. It was the greatest thing ever. So we were going through stuff, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? And they were looking like for funny horror movies, right?
Okay.
And like, oh, I never showed them Scream, right?
Oh, good.
They loved it. It totally holds up. But guess how old that movie is? 21 years old.
God damn.
Yeah, it hurts.
Wow. 96. Holy shit.
It was hilarious because they watched it, they loved it, and then I'm sitting here like, like the director's commentary, like I know everything because I know who Neve Campbell is. They have no idea who Neve Campbell is, right?
And it's a young Neve Campbell. It's like Party of Five.
All those actors are working on shows. Like all the actors are gainfully employed,
Right.
So they all know them from something else, except for her because she cashed out, right?
Yes, yeah.
But my daughter's been binging Friends, so when Courtney Cox showed up, and then I get to tell her the elaborate story of how Courtney Cox and David Arquette fell in love on the set of this movie, and were broken up by the 4th one. And I do sound like a genius, but it's hilarious. But I couldn't believe how much they loved the movie and how well it held up. And the reason I found out how old it was is they wanted to watch Scream 2, and when we put up Scream 2, it said 1997. And when 1997, when did Scream come out? Because in my head it was like 2009. Right? And I was like, 1996? Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That hurt.
Oh, God. That's
and
awesome.
And it hurt because it rarely hurts my wife. And when I pulled it up, it's at 1996, I heard her go, oof. I just heard this little quiet oof.
Yeah, man. No, I understand. It's
between that and David Walker. When you next talk to him, you'll have to ask him about this. Me and David taught writing all year, together, and we're about the same age, and so our reference pool can be similar. It's why we're good friends. And I because I've taught before, I every time I make a reference and anything happened before 1999, I poll the class. Does anybody know what the Matrix is? And when only 3 hands go up, you go, oof.
Yeah, man. We did talk about this before. That, it's you were telling us about your babysitter that she was born after the Matrix or whatever.
No, that one was she didn't know. No, we had a picture of George Takei on our refrigerator that's signed to Olivia from when she was a baby.
That's awesome.
And someone came in and goes, "Who's that?" And I go, "It's Sulu from Star Trek." To go, Next Generation? And I go, "No, the original Star Trek." They go, "There was an original Star Trek."
Yeah.
That hurt.
Marty Pasco was at that Utah convention, and I was hanging with him mostly because literally he and Jai Nitz were like the 2 creators that I knew well. Marty brought a bunch of his Star Trek comic books from both.
I love those Marty Pasco Star Trek comics.
Yeah, from both DC and Marvel.
I loved them.
And he's showing these young people like, oh, Star Trek comics. He's like, yes, I'm really proud of this issue. It was drawn by a real great. Do you know who Gil Kane is? No. Oh, well, I know. It's like, well, he invented Green Lantern. We were stupid. It was the weekend that Iron Fist dropped on Netflix. I totally forgot he's the artist that created Iron Fist. So that's what we should have been saying, because it was certainly on everyone's mind as it was dropping and everything. So, and then another one was, and this is even better, and this is like, you got to be an uber comic book art fan, but you'll know. And he's like, this is an incredible book. Have you ever heard of Gray Morrow? No. It's like, well, he's very good. And it's like, poor Marty, man. He had all of his Bronze Age comics, and I'm like, dude, it's great stuff. I go, no. I go, it's, and I'm like, Marty really knows Star Trek, because he used to also write the comic strip, and he was going to actually, that whole period of Chaos on the Bridge, those first 3 seasons of Star Trek. He was up for a writing job when that writer's strike happened in the middle of the first or second season. And so, yeah, he was being considered for the writing staff for Star Trek. He didn't get it, but he's a good Star Trek writer. That said.
Yeah,
but anyway,
absolutely.
Yes, but I digress.
No, but you're hitting on another thing that is a little heartbreaking, is that how much effort you have to put forth to remind people about the history of things, and not that everyone, some people just want to hear, just want to read comics and be told stories, and they don't give a shit, and that's
True.
fine.
True.
But my Tumblr is so often a spotlight on someone I love and admire, and quite often people will think I've discovered them. And the 2 names that broke my heart a little bit is, and I think I told you this when I first worked with Bill Sienkiewicz, people were like, "What a find! Where'd that guy come from?" Was the first email about that.
Was that during End of Days with the Daredevil thing?
No, it was when we did Ultimate Team Up together when I first came to Marvel. In my head, I'm like, I can't believe Bill Sienkiewicz is working with me. And then my guys were like, who's Bill Sienkiewicz? And then this it happened recently with I haven't told him yet, so if he listens to this, I guess we'll hear it. But Kevin McGuire, they're like, what a discovery!
Oh man. I don't think Kevin listens yet. I haven't been able to get him on. You're gonna have to help me get him on.
Really? I'll get him on. We've become buds.
I know that. And we had a really nice conversation in Cincinnati at one of Tony Moore's Cincinnati shows. But yeah, we'll make it happen. That'd be great. And I can tell you guys.
Here's some lovely name dropping. Yeah, he took me a couple weeks ago to John Cleese Live.
I saw that. Yes, please tell me about that experience.
No, it's his one-man show, which had been on HBO, so I had seen the material, but he was wonderful. And as we get along in the years, you start to admire those who are in their 70s and 80s who seem to have all of their marbles.
Yep. And are still amazing. I told you, Carol Burnett.
I'm sure mine are already leaving us as we speak. I'm, having had lengthy conversation with elder gentlemen who have all their shit together. You're like, life goal, please, please let me remember all this stupid shit when I'm old.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's fantastic. No,
so it was a great show, and it was just I love Kevin, and it was just and he had not seen the show. He did not know it was a one-man show that had aired, so it was nice to. He really had a good time.
That's cool. So was it like the Alimony show that he did?
Yeah, it's the he opens up with the Alimony, and it was funny because I guess it is a pretty biting joke. He opens with, "Why is someone as famous and iconic as me here in Portland in the middle of the night?" Well, here's why, and he shows a picture of his wife drinking. And he goes, "I have paid this woman $20 million. And from what I heard from my friends in California, I got off cheap. But here I am." And the audience, and then he goes, "And my lawyer said to me, you got off cheap. Imagine if she had contributed anything to the marriage." Which is a pretty biting, angry joke. The audience it's one of those great jokes where you hear guys chuckle and women gasp at the same time. It's like, which is, I got to say, probably the perfect response to a joke. Like, I've been listening to a lot of Patrice O'Neill lately, and there was this episode of The Green Room that he did with these other comedians, him and Bob Saget and Roseanne. And for some reason, Patricia O'Neill was just lunging at Bob Saget like what a sellout Bob Saget is, right?
Wow.
And in a funny ball busting way, like kind of like he knows Bob Saget is funnier than he lets on, so he's gonna keep poking him until Bob Saget pokes back. It's clearly, literally just poking until he poked back, which he did. Okay. And in the conversation, they were talking about how comedians get lost, and I think this about writers and any kind of storytellers as well, is that people get lost in the wanting to be accepted and loved, and that really, if you think about what the perfect joke should be, it should be half the people are on the floor laughing and the other half are fucking horrified.
Sure.
Like, that's the perfect joke. And everyone agreed, right? But that most people are wired to needing love and affection and acceptance, so they run away from it eventually. You know, they get their kicks out of fucking with the audience and then try to sell out, right? And I was like, or get the gig and then don't do the same edgy material they did that got them the gig.
Well, that's that whole Louis 3-episode thing that was the end of the one season where he's supposedly going for Letterman's job.
Yes,
and Leno says, you know, you can't always be the edgy. It's impossible to stay the edgy guy. And
and it's fascinating because now we're watching it happen to Fallon, and Fallon's ratings are way down, and it's because his show seems so inconsequential to everything that's going on in the world.
Well, and he kind of fucked himself when he was, you know, playing with Trump.
Yeah, that tipped it over the edge, but already there was a sense of, you know, the world, there's really big things going on.
Yes.
And I think he positioned himself to be the other thing.
Yep.
And no, we want to talk about this, you know.
Right, so, Colbert. I mean, that's, you know, I'm really glad CBS stuck by Colbert, and I think Colbert is obviously more relevant than ever. And God, Seth Meyers has certainly carved a nice, relevant niche for himself.
Yeah, and I swear to God, I'm not kissing his ass because he had me on the show. I find the writing on Seth Meyers to be outstanding.
Clearly.
It just, the level of craft of those
Closer
looks,
yep.
They're extremely well written, and now he's doing them daily.
Yeah.
You know, and they're elaborate, and sometimes they're 12 to 15 minutes long. These are not easy. He's literally doing half of John Oliver's show every day.
Yeah.
And it's pretty impressive.
No, definitely. No, and it's, you know, Samantha Bee is kicking ass. Her show is great.
John Oliver has been amazing this year.
Oh, yeah. I know. It was so...
weird episode. He had this one weird episode where his performance was bizarrely off. Like, he kept screwing up jokes, you know? I didn't realize they do the show live. And, but the last 2 weeks were exceptional.
Well, I know that's why I was so bummed. We're recording the Monday after the Republican Health Care Act failed, and I was really looking forward to seeing John Oliver, and he was off this week, and it's like, oh, fuck.
Well, yeah, and Bill Maher, who I literally can't stand, but whose show also has gotten good because of
the political
subject matter.
atmosphere. Yeah.
But you have to, like, literally push through his arrogance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Appreciate his. I don't know how you feel about him. He's just driving me nuts.
I like him, but no, he can be. He shoots himself in the foot. There are a lot of people on both sides that step over the line and they shoot themselves in the foot. And I mean, you know, Rachel Maddow releasing the 205 tax returns. It's like, you know, I love her, but you can't be right. Like Mar was correct. He's like, you can't be right every time. This time she was wrong. Yeah. And, you know, it's just, I mean, it's shit like that. It's a very, very interesting time wherever you are in the political spectrum.
It is.
Spectrum.
It isn't politics. It isn't politics.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Say hi to Olivia. John, I can't remember. Have you met Olivia in our passing, in our years?
Years ago, hon. It was like you were a baby, 2009.
Baby O.
But it's nice to hear you. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
I was just telling him about your reaction to Scream. That you like.
It's too many jump scares. I'm very. It's like too many like just to scare you jump scares, and not like the actual killer. It's like too many like friends being like, "Hi."
And I will be texting you the video of you and your cousin fighting over Mamma Mia.
Please do.
This is maybe the greatest video of all time.
That's hilarious.
Mom texted me earlier and said that we should watch Mamma Mia again, and I almost like punched the phone. It bothered me so much. Like the stuff that bothered you didn't even bother me nearly as much as the stuff that bothered me.
All right, what have you read for fun that you want to plug on this podcast?
I don't know. I don't
movie
get to
have you
read stuff
seen?
for fun.
I know you're.
Last thing I read was The Stranger by Albert Camus.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, but that was because of English class.
And what movie would you recommend to the people listening?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so much pressure.
All right, don't answer.
I'm not going to answer.
All
I'm
right.
too. Dang.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, that's that between your dad and
Go ahead. Say
Fraction's
that.
handling the good music.
She just picked up the movie she wants to say, but she
No, I don't want to say it. I was just kidding.
What movie?
Nope. Nope. It was just the first movie I saw.
She literally held up the package of Sausage Party. I'll see you later, baby.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, Olivia. Great hearing you.
All right, there you go, an Olivia cameo.
Very funny. All right. That's hilarious.
I know. Teenagers.
Shocking. Seriously, 2009 in Baltimore.
Her cousin were watching the movie of Mamma Mia in my office after having seen the play that afternoon.
Okay.
And the movie is not a good movie.
Really?
Have you seen it? No, like beyond just the whatever. What it is.
It's a really bad
filmed on location in Greece.
I'm well aware. Go on.
With beautiful people. Amanda Seyfried, Dominic Cooper, Meryl Streep, Pierce Brosnan.
Yep.
Like everyone is glowing and beautiful. It literally looks like it was filmed on someone's Samsung Galaxy One.
Yeah.
It is the worst cinematography I've ever seen in a major motion picture. And if there ever was a movie that should be glowing, it's that movie.
Sure.
Disgusting. Disgusting, I say.
That's hilarious.
We are all over the place.
You are breaking the hearts of ABBA fans all over the world.
So anyway, my daughter, who is eagerly waiting for her just to get out of high school so she can go to film school, just started laying into her cousin, who's the same age as her, who thinks it's the greatest movie ever made, about what's wrong with the movie.
What was your tweet the other day that you were 20 minutes into it and you thought it was something else?
Well, that's what I tweet because I was watching Mamma Mia, and Dominic Cooper is the male lead. He's the boy that she's marrying.
Right.
And he's young and hairless and like wearing like little shorts that they wear in Greece, you know?
Sure.
And he's singing. And like, who is that guy? Like, he looks familiar. I'm like, oh my God, it's Tony Stark. It's Howard Stark.
It's Howard Stark, yes, of course.
Howard Stark. And then oh my God, it's the preacher. And then I said how funny it is because he was literally like looking in Amanda's eyes and singing the most beautiful love song in her face. And then I literally saw a tweet from Seth Rogen about the most violent image of Preacher at the same time. So I tweeted, I'm 20 minutes into Mamma Mia before I figured out it wasn't Preacher. It's like literally a joke I've been doing since Twitter was invented.
Yikes.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I always forget that she was in Mamma Mia, Amanda Seyfried, because she's great, and it's funny because I like her singing in Ted 2. I like her version of Little Red Riding Hood. It's no, she's a hell of a singer, but yeah, Mamma Mia. Woof.
No, the woof part really is Pierce Brosnan. He in the last half of the movie, he starts every song. And by saying he starts every song, I mean he destroys every song he starts. Yeah. It's the flattest, shittiest voice. And you can hear that it's being electronically altered to be more palatable.
Auto-tune? That's fantastic.
What did it sound like to start with? So, yes, I haven't finished Iron Fist because I was watching Mamma Mia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's so goddamn funny.
That's what parenting is.
Well, lovely. Very good. Jesus
I saw
Christ.
Bunked. You don't even know what that is.
Well, say it again.
I saw an episode of Bunt, and then I saw Mamma Mia, and then I saw the next Avengers cartoon, and then everyone.
I don't know Bunt. What is Bunt?
Bunt is a show on the Disney Channel. It's a spin-off of Jessie, but the actress that played Jessie got a DUI, so she's no longer with the show. Now all the kids seem to be perpetually at summer camp. in a show called Bunt.
That's awesome. Jesus Christ.
You're welcome.
Oh my. Jesus. And I think I've said this before on a few shows. Man, Powerless, what a disappointment on NBC.
I have not seen even 1 second of it, so I cannot speak.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Legion is great. Are you watching Legion?
I have not. I heard it's great. I've not seen even. I just haven't had time. I've been working very lot of writing time. Okay, so I'm getting a lot done, which is I think what people want to hear me saying.
I understand. So. Well, should we go around the horn? Has the first arc of Jessica finished? Is it issue 7?
Yeah.
Out, or?
The new issue. The last issue was the final issue. I do know that because that first arc, last issue is really when you hear from people, whether they like the story or not. But that went over very well. That's how I know that shipped.
Okay, well, I'm only 4 issues in, but I've enjoyed what I've read, and I also really like. I love the case itself. That it's obviously some alternate universe that's clashing with the 616 in some way.
Well, I've babbled about Mamma Mia, so I'm going to give you a scoopy scoop. So here's what Jessica is going to be. The next storyline, which has already been solicited, so people know, is The Secrets of Maria Hill.
Okay. Cool.
Maria is no longer running S.H.I.E.L.D. And has been pretty much abandoned by the intelligence community. And she turns to Jessica Jones to unravel what's happening. So I'm very excited about that because Maria is obviously a character I co-created, and it's a great opportunity to dig deep into her. We're very into the storyline. It's really coming along. It's really well drawn. And then the storyline after this will be the return of the Purple Man.
Oh, wow.
What? Snap! Boom!
Well, wait, on Maria Hill, is that going to tie into Secret Invasion or Secret Empire?
It's all a fallout of what's going on in Secret Empire. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
like
cool.
like a lot's going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. in Secret Empire,
of course,
and a lot's going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. in a lot of my books.
Yes.
So, Nick offered gave me this grand opportunity to really flip some tables in my books, which I'm really excited about. Like right now, Miles' father is undercover as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Yes.
For Maria Hill. But what if Maria Hill's not there anymore? Then does anybody even know or care where he is?
Yeah, is he out in the cold? Is the
deal still going? And Riri Williams has an interesting relationship to S.H.I.E.L.D. And so we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I saw her being recruited by Sharon.
Yes.
And that was fun. That was good. I like that.
I know. In issue 7, we're going to get a little more. People are very curious about that because I got some comments about how they thought Sharon was being too pro-S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm like, I don't think she's being too pro-S.H.I.E.L.D. I think she dragged her ass halfway around the world to save this kid. When she got there, the kid gave her the business.
Yeah.
And she was like,
hey, what the
fuck? I don't care who you are. You're like, hey, come on, man. So it's if someone comes up to get you a hamburger and you throw the hamburger on the ground and go, I hate hamburgers. You're going to react. So, but we're going to get Sharon's going to be more in Iron Man in the coming future. In fact, what I liked so much about the book as I was writing is I realized there were the only male character in Iron Man is the hologram of Tony Stark.
Yeah, Tony's AI. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that was chilling at the end of the recent issue of his conclusion to Friday. Well, I guess we'll find out what that means.
I was so excited. No one saw that coming, and I really thought it was. I thought I may have telegraphed it down the street, but I guess I did not. So I was very, very happy about that.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. And that's not. Everyone just assumes we're going into Ultron territory. That's not necessarily what that means.
Okay. Well, I guess, you tell your story, and I won't hypothesize because it's...
Not like my mother. All right, you go tell your story.
No, and honestly, I hope that there will be more involvement with AI Tony because...
No. He's all over the place, and he's going to be an infamous Iron Man, too. Because what he's doing is what I'm fascinated by... and this goes back to even when I was studying for Age of Ultron, is an artificial intelligence using the mannerisms of a human But the human brain is ego, and really part of what tempers your ego is your body. Like, no one ever feels great about their body, right? Even if you're like in perfect shape, there's always like, the aches and pains. Like, there's always something, someone's always flared up,
Yeah.
So it does affect the ego, right? So if you take the body away and you just have the ego with nothing to temper it, what do you get? What's Tony Stark without a body? What is that personality?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Well, that's cool. And I read on ICV2 today the announcement about the Generations stuff that's coming up in the summer.
Yes.
Now, is that at the same time as Secret Empire, or is that?
There is something in Secret Empire that allows the Generations one-shots to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say, and it's not my story, so I want to be cool. Mm-hmm. But what it does allow is this conceit of Miles meeting 15-year-old Peter in the Ditko years.
Okay.
Right? Or Riri meeting Tony at some point in his life that she would never have seen.
Okay.
And we're talking about perspective and, experience. Miles and like, just for my books, it's very unique opportunity for our characters to learn something about the legacy that they're embracing that they may not have been able to perceive without this experience. So it allows for very emotional storylines. Very excited about it. Honestly, I was like, this is the kind of thing I would love to do no matter what. And I'm very happy that this allows.
But they're one-shots.
They're all they're all like annuals.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
Yeah. So look at this as like the Spider-Man annual and the Iron Man annual,
Okay. Because I see the struggle for some readers that are like, they miss the original characters. And, there are different iterations. Like, you've got AI Tony Stark and Riri, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I can appreciate. It seems to me, as a reader, I'm very happy to welcome the new legacy characters. But it does seem like because of the length of storylines, it's like, all right, we're still waiting for, Thor to come back. Odin's son. And I know he's in Unworthy Thor, and I've been reading what Jason's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing. I appreciate the legacy characters, but to the point where the exclusions and everybody is off the board, it kind of reminds me of DC around 2010 when James Robinson was going to do a Justice League book, and it's like, well, you can't have Superman because Straczynski's got him walking across the country, and Bruce Wayne is lost in time, and Wonder Woman's been de-aged, and Straczynski dropped that story, and Phil Hester's trying to finish it. So, no, you can't have them. That's what happened back then. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was ridiculous. And it was just like, okay, again, I got no problem with, Nightwing stepping up and Donna Troy and, whoever, Dick Grayson or whatever, but, or rather, I forget, I think Monel was stepping up for Superman or whatever. But it's like, we kind of miss the big guys. We kind of miss those guys as well.
But they're, it's circular, man. If you had the same flavor every month,
totally.
You'd be like, well, it's always the big guys. It's never anybody else. I mean, I've been there where that was the complaint. I remember during the Heroic Age, people were like, you guys don't give any time to Moon Knight or Squirrel Girl or blah blah blah. So there's a level where no matter what happens, there's just complaining, right? There's just someone's not happy. You just got to tell your stories, right?
Right.
But truthfully, these things are circular. It's a journey. So yes, Tony isn't on the board now, but will he find his way back on the board?
Yeah, I guess.
How will he find his way back on the board? And will he get back on the board in time to stop this artificial intelligence from,
I hear
Skype with all his ex-girlfriends? This is all good stuff.
I understand. I hear you.
I hear what you're saying. But
I know you do. No, I'm sure you hear it.
I'll open my Tumblr and it'll be, oh my God, you guys are just too much blue. And then the next one, Not enough blue. And you're like, are people fucking like you do? Sometimes you just feel like you're being fucked with. Like, you know, and also I told you, like, sometimes they're all from different anonymous people. So it just looks like it's all from the same person called Anonymous, and they're all over the place. Just all over the place.
Well, and again, the problem, too, is, you know, you only have time for 2 story arcs a year and change, and, you know, things seem to move glacially slow. I mean, you know, that's the thing.
Or they're moving with such richness. There's such richness to the story that they're moving at the only pace they could possibly move to get all the flavor.
I hope. Hey,
I'm joking, but I'm kind of telling the truth, too.
No, I honestly, I
Would
understand.
you want Jason to tell his Thor story any faster than the way he's telling it?
Yes.
I disagree. That was a funny answer, but I disagree. I did walk right into that. I knocked right on the door.
No, honestly, and I love the idea of Jane Foster as Thor, and I like that it presents a different problem for the Odin. First of all, I love saying the Odin son because that sounds so Dungeons and Dragons, and you know. And
also, you referred to yourself as that during lovemaking.
Yes, assuming. I believe the Odin son is about to
I'm
release
assuming
Milonor or whatever, however you say Milonor or whatever.
the Odin's boner.
But yeah,
he's gone into the Odin erection. Sorry.
No, but yeah, sometimes it is like, all right, let's whatever. I mean, honestly, hey, Superior Spider-Man, very fun story. Dan did a great job. Very interesting, really interesting perspective and stuff. And you can look back now and go, okay, yeah, that was a lot of fun and everything. But yeah, you know, after a while, it's like, okay, roll call. Anyone? Anybody around? And I love Secret Empire. I love
very, very successful storyline. So, any of my other coworkers you want to slam?
Sure. No. I'm just throwing it out there, man. Because, like I said, you know, I love Old Man Logan. Love what Lemire.
Throw some shade at Sam Humphries while we're at it.
I miss him in the Marvel Universe.
He actually had he came up to Disney and we had a lovely Disney time
that's
together.
Nice. Very nice.
His fiance loved the Disneyland, so we had a good time.
Yeah, very cool. That's cool. I haven't actually
listen, my point is, it's a soap opera. It's a to be continued soap opera.
Sure.
The wheels continue to turn. For everything you're complaining about, I know thousands of people who are like, oh my God, don't ever, ever bring Thor back. I only want Jane. Right? With every issue of Riri Williams, I get more and more, I wrote you 6 months ago to say don't bring Tony back. Now I'm saying bring Tony back. Now I'm saying don't bring Tony back. So we will tell our stories. We will be as honest and forthright with our stories as possible. And hopefully enough people will like them. That's all you can do.
I understand.
But I'm with you, like, yes. But here's the other thing, too, is, you know, our culture is different. Like, anything's available. Like, whatever comic, whatever movie, whatever TV show, whatever you want, you can just have it, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
With that comes, all right, you want to scratch your Tony Stark itch? It's not hard.
True.
And I doubt outside of me and Matt and maybe David Michelini that no one's read every single Iron Man issue and miniseries and one shot. Blah, blah,
That's true. That's very true. That's true. There's some very good Fred Van Lente miniseries over the years.
Yes, there is. And Joe Casey.
Why did I just say it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Charlie Houston and his brother or whatever.
Perfect. Exactly.
You know.
And so I say, yes, this is what's going on now. But if you need a scratch, like, listen, every once in a while, I want to hear some Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Sure.
All right. I'm not going to get mad at fucking Ed Sheeran for not sounding like him.
You're right. Yeah. You know, honestly, I've been reading with my Marvel Unlimited Dan Slott's She-Hulk, and it's been a
lot of people digging on the Marvel Unlimited too, which is a very funny thing from my perspective. I love it because it's really. It's for college students and fans on a limited income.
Oh yeah,
it's so great, and also for people like to binge, which is such a unique experience for a writer. We've talked about this before. Like these things weren't created to be binged, so I'm relieved that they work.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like it's a relief to me that they read so well, and I know they do because I hear from a lot of people. But it's very, very funny to get yelled at for things. For someone reading Marvel Unlimited, something I did in New Avengers 9 years ago is brand new to them. They actually don't know what day this came out, right?
Yes.
So I will get a ferocious letter about something I did in issue 29 of New Avengers. And, I don't know what, I don't remember. I don't know what they're not clear enough. Like, it doesn't say, oh my God, you made Iceman gay, you son of a bitch. It's not clear.
I'm hip.
What they're yelling at. So I find that very, oh my God, I can't believe you did that to Moondragon, you son of a bitch. I go, what did I do to Moondragon? I'm sure I did. I'm not saying I didn't do it. I'm saying, what was it? And then it's funny. And then I'll get like, every week, like Marvel will put out a chunk. So I'll get mail about that chunk, and that chunk was actually 8 months ago in my life. So
Sure.
it's just, it's very unique bunch of, so you get mail from stuff that happened today, stuff that happened 6 months ago, stuff that happened 6 years ago. It's very, very unique experience.
I can appreciate that. No,
and I'm not complaining. It's just unique.
No, I get it. I'll tell you some other positive Marvel things that I'm reading that I'm liking. I love Zdarsky's Star-Lord series.
I said this online. I will say it here. Zdarsky's free comic book day of Spider-Man was so good I was annoyed. He is maybe born to write Spider-Man, and it was quite good.
So is he writing Miles?
I don't want to oversell because it's but it was very, very good.
Is he writing?
He has a new Spider-Man series called Spectacular Spider-Man.
Okay, is it Peter though, or is it Miles, or we're not saying?
It's Peter.
Oh, it is Peter. Okay, cool.
It's like one of those Lego minifigs you buy. You just have to open it and find out what Spider-Man it is. I'm not going to tell you.
That's cool. No, that's good.
That's not a bad idea. I'm going to pitch that, by the way. Which is Defenders. See the Defenders. I'm not going to tell you. You have to buy it.
Did you see Lego Batman? Speaking of Lego,
I did. Me and my son went to see Lego Batman. I quite liked it. I liked it more than I think most people did.
I liked it a lot as well. I thought it was
very, very clever in places it didn't need to be.
Yep.
And I thought it was as funny as the original Lego movie. People kept saying it's not as good as the Lego movie, and I actually thought it was. Yeah,
I did too. And I'll be honest, I've liked the direct-to-video Lego joke movies as well. I mean, I just think that they've got a patter to them, and I've seen more DC ones than I've seen Marvel or Star Wars ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like them. I think I think it works.
I thought the fact that Ralph Fiennes was in the cast, yet they had Eddie Izzard doing the voice of Voldemort, was hilarious. Even that's a hilarious. Like, why? He's right there.
That's true. I didn't even think of
Eddie Izzard imitating him. This is brilliant. I just thought the whole movie was funny. And if they kept cutting away to the 60s Batman TV show, everything was funny. It was just funny. And it's the thing that we complain about the Zack Snyder movies is that they're not filled with a sense of reverence or or fun. And I thought this was the most fun superhero thing I'd seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I was completely charmed and delighted by it. And what's funny is that this is how my son has been introduced to Batman. So he thinks Batman's hilarious. Batman to my son is the Tick.
Yeah, sure.
So it's very funny when he sees little hints or little glimpses of serious Batman. He goes, "What's wrong with Batman?" So he saw the trailer to Justice League. He has not seen Batman versus Superman because they will call child services if I show it to him.
Yeah, I would agree.
And he saw, and his first time he's seen like a Batman, and he went, "What's wrong with Batman? He's so angry."
There you go.
I said, "Well, they murdered his parents."
What's that?
They murdered his parents. And here's the other funny thing about Batman. Is it might have been McDonald's. I don't know where we got it, but there was like a little Batman minifigure. No, it was one of those little Lego minifigures you buy, right?
Okay.
And what they do is, even for Marvel does it too. Like you open up, you don't know what the hero is until you open it up. So you could get in Batman, or you could be getting Killer Croc. You don't know what you're getting, right? So went to the Lego store at Disney, downtown Disney, to get him a couple little Batman Lego little figures.
Sure.
There were adults, mothers and fathers at the packages, feeling the packages to feel if they can feel pointy ears in the package. So,
Awesome.
yeah, so I got him some little Lego minifigs. I forgot what the point of that story was. I'm sorry.
No, we were just talking about Lego Batman or just the Lego movies and how funny they are, and that there's a lightness to those contrasting to Zack Snyder's.
Yeah, and in general, I think what the comic industry needs to be projecting out more is hope and fun.
Agreed.
And not fun like silliness, but just genuine. This is a fun place to be because it is, and that is what I'm attempting to project in particularly my books, particularly Miles and Riri. I mean, Jessica's going to be, what Jessica is, but these characters should be enjoying their lives, and even when shit hits the fan, it should be, really captivating. So.
Very cool. Well, back to the Defenders. We didn't talk about you coming back to Daredevil.
Yes,
and obviously you did say that you and Charles are kind of in sync in terms of, I'm assuming,
Charles
what you
and I are Charles has been very open and gracious and welcoming. His plans are very concrete. So I like when I was writing Avengers, with every ounce of my body, I try to do everything I can to make sure that I do nothing that screws up the solo titles. Like, let the solo titles generate their story, and then I'll deal with it. Because I think in real life, that's how it would be for a team.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So when I hear old stories of older creators being on Avengers or X-Men and then bullying the solo titles and like taking all the interesting things away from the solo titles and putting them in the team book, I think it's a huge mistake. I think all the like David's Luke Cage should be amazing. Ed's Iron Fist should be amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then bring all the amazing into the book, right? So that philosophy held me very well in both Avengers and Guardians and X-Men. So I'm going to do it here as well. And in this instance, it just so happens that Charles has got a really good handle on what to do with Daredevil, and an original story too. Yep. And same with David and Ed on their books. So
no question.
Really, it's almost like a little bit of a cheat for me because I get to then express those interesting things in my book, and some people think I thought of them. No, but truthfully, what everyone involved in these books loves these characters truly, but because Guardians and Avengers have been so at the forefront of the cinematic universe, there's been so much attention to those level of books, whereas the Netflix shows have been so well received and so popular. I mean, I can't believe, I don't know, who knows what the numbers really are, but it's crazy.
Well, I read numbers, and I mean, it's
you don't know if they're real. You really don't know, because I must say I read them too, and I tend to like believe everything I read until I realize but half the things I read about things I know about aren't true. So why are you believing everything you read? But no, look, I'll read the sales track. Well, I know that's not true, so I'm just so none of these other numbers could be true. So same thing with that. And also this thing that Netflix does, which I think is brilliant, and is how I would run my business, which is, you want to know our numbers? None of your damn business. That's your number.
That's so
it's literally no one's business. Literally.
I don't know how it's happening in every separate broadcasting market, terrestrial broadcasting, but that information is becoming more privileged, and the broadcast critics in town, they used to have access to a lot of numbers. Not ratings they still have, but they also used to have access to billing. And one radio group protested and said, we don't want those numbers out there anymore. And they've now disappeared. And this is the first year where we're not getting those numbers.
I see both sides, of course, but I agree with it as well. If I was running a business, even when I was a kid, did I know how much anything I was buying sold? To me, Marvel 2-in-1 was the best-selling comic in the world because it was my favorite. Right?
Yeah, go on.
Who gives a shit,
well,
right?
The only thing is, and I'll point to the music business as an example of this, before Napster, companies were getting really cute with expensive. really expensive
with
products that became obsolete very quickly.
Yes.
And that's why, you know.
But here's for us, it's like, if the book is successful, then they will continue to make it. If it's not, they'll stop.
Sure.
Other than that, what difference does it make?
Well,
so then by putting that chart out, you're now inciting behavior to bloat that chart. You know, from all companies, you know what I mean? Like everyone's like fighting to get into Loot Crate or fighting to somehow. And I've done it too with variant covers or Michigas or discounts.
Sure.
Get that book in the top 10, because if you're not in the top 10, you don't exist in this weird world we live in, which I don't agree with. It's just that's the way we're always seeing things.
Well, the only
top 10.
The only populist thing that I want to see happen is really these number ones over and over again. It does get confusing, and especially for the newer series. I mean, I know people that that there were people that wanted to read Spider-Gwen and don't know where to start because of the fakakta numbers. I mean, it's insane.
Well, it is and it isn't. I have contradictory information on this as well. Like we older people who like you don't think that I want my books to say like I'm on Spider-Man 239 or whatever really I'm on. You don't think I want it to say that? I'm very proud of that number.
I understand.
But that number can also, for the 16-year-old kid coming to the store, that number is like a pass.
Well, but
so I'm 239 chapters into this story that I missed.
Well, yeah, but there's a solution. There's an obvious solution, and Dark Horse does it, and that is, Spider-Man: The Return of Gwen Stacy 1 through 6. The next one, Spider-Man: The Attack of the Lizard 1 through 6.
We've done that too.
Well, but that's kind of what they should do to at least clarify on the collected library shelves what the fuck is going on and what to read and in what order. And hey man, your own company put out that thing. I don't know if it was retailers only to kind of explain, okay, this is what's been going on. This is the path.
They do that every year. That's not a, oh my God, the market's confused. There's always a primer. There's
well, you're right. There was Marvel Age and other primers. That's true.
Spider-Man on the cover.
Say it again.
When the Ultimate Universe came out, and everyone was like, I don't understand. How are there two Spider-Man? There's always and usually around an event. That's when you usually got to put the ducks in a row and show everyone how they're in a row. So, but it's actually a good place to do that. And also, I'm going to tell you, it's also good when the company does that because it forces them to organize themselves and cut the fat off. Sure. So when they're doing that book or that list, they're also looking at the list and going, all right, what's working, what's not working. So. Again, I kind of agree with you more than it sounds like I do, but I'm taking a devil's advocate position because I see both sides, and you clearly don't.
No.
I'm joking.
I know you do. I know you are. No, but honestly, I also know that there's there's probably obvious inside publishing information that you have that I don't. That might.
No, there are audiences that the number one is very enticing and number 109 is not. It just really. Hilariously, until they become diehard fans, and then they're immediately annoyed by the numbering.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, the numbering is what got them here. So it's just a very funny dynamic. But listen, and this is another thing. Like the market will dictate if these things aren't working. The market says, and then all of the companies course correct.
I hear you. No, you're right.
All of them. Oh, are we putting out too many books? Are we putting out too few books? Are we double shipping too many? Or are we double shipping not enough? Some retailers tell Marvel and DC and Image one thing and then order completely different than what they say. This is always a fascinating thing that happens. Like a retailer will come right up and say, you have to do this, 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 and this. And then you look at their order form and they don't do anything that they talk about.
Interesting.
So it's how these things are sold is my least favorite part of the business.
Sure.
How they're made is my favorite, and how they're consumed is my second favorite. I love to run online and tell people I'm so surrounded by such passionate creators all the time that I thought as a fan you'd like to know that everyone who makes these really really loves them.
Yeah.
That's you don't get that with everything.
True.
Like, I worked in television and movies. Not everybody loves it. They're there. They're just doing a job, and that's okay. But in comics, the level of people who are there for passion is immensely high. So, I keep hoping that the market will course correct itself into an entirely different business model. Like, I would like to see the format, the standard format change. I would like to see.
In what way? More pages?
Page count, price could be different, could be better.
Yeah.
Sad thing is, that's where retailers really, really control more than you think. They order the standard pretty strongly, and anything that veers off the standard, they start to contemplate it and order more carefully, which I completely understand because everything's returnable. So, or non-returnable.
Right, non-returnable. Yeah.
I mean, non-returnable.
Yeah.
Like, so they would order differently if things were returnable. So, all this way out of my hands. I know some people think I'm the most powerful person on the planet.
No.
I make a phone call, I can change all this. That is not true.
No, I get it, and I usually, I buck this. I try to talk to Axel and say, if I think something's like, I don't know, man.
Well, it's not Axel either. Axel is an editorial.
That's true.
He doesn't form the business.
Well, Dan very politely said, I can't talk to you. I'm like, okay.
It's too bad. He's so fascinating.
He's a
Dan
genius.
Buckley? You talking about Dan Buckley?
Yeah, and I've said this before on our conversation.
I'm sorry he turned you down.
And honestly, he was
you
very
two would
sweet
be a
about
great
it.
conversation.
Yeah, he's a genius. No, and honestly, really, people should seek him out when he does come to cons, and he is hit with a direct readership question of why are these books so expensive, or why is everything following an event, and just everything. He will give you a very cogent. You understand where he's coming from. You may not agree with
absolutely.
it. Absolutely.
My favorite part of the Marvel retreats is that part I've told you before. It's called the State of the State.
Yes.
Where they pretty much pull the curtain back and show us who bought what and where from and how and trends and who's doing what and blah, blah, blah. And these are the hard numbers that you guys never see. You talk about the Amazon numbers, the Barnes & Noble numbers. Like these are the numbers, right? And without seeing these numbers, people who just, like, as a hobbyist, just look at whatever's online and make their comments about it. If you saw these other pie charts, you'd be like, oh, why am I even commenting on this diamond chart? It's like a fifth of the whole thing.
Right.
So, so when we go through there, that's really when you get to really talk to Dan and David Gabriel about the business and how it's unfolding and what's working, what's not. And it is, I would pay money for this. I love it so much.
No, honestly,
that's when you really get to talk to Dan and find out how Dan works. And then things that people online particularly would be like, why do they do events, or why do they number these things? And then you hear the very cogent, thoughtful business reasons. And you're like, all right, inarguable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand. No, I'm not, and I don't know. I don't have the cachet that Milton Greep gets on ICV too, because he seems like he's the only one who gets these conversations at that level.
Yeah. Now the thing I worry about in our and I worry about it, I think, to the betterment of my work, it has been that for years, and we talked about this, everyone was worried that comics are going to be destroyed by the games, and that never happened.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Yes.
But what I am concerned about, in a different way, is how there are so many comic book television shows. Again, and I want to make it clear. I know I just sounded like I was complaining about an industry that I've done very well in. I'm not. I'm concerned about it, and I wanted to voice that. I hope that's clear. I'm not complaining. I'm worried. And I'm worried that, and again, I know I'm contributing to this with Jessica Jones and Powers and other things, so I should make that clear that I understand that. But I'm worried that there's so many TV shows that it's taking away from the urgency of needing to read comics all the time. And that's a concern. There's literally dozens of them now. You can open up a TV guide, and it literally looks like the order form at Diamond.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you got Supergirl, iZombie, Walking Dead,
The Strain,
Netflix, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and even things that are not based on source material, but are clearly, like Powerless.
Sure.
That could be a title. Riverdale. These things are all comic books.
Oh, totally,
right?
Absolutely.
And it's a lot. I mean, what I just said, you're adding them up in your head right now.
Yeah.
And you go, holy shit! And then next year we're getting Black Lightning, and we're getting like everyone's getting a show. So and some of them are outstanding, and I worry that. So what is comics? So if there's a weekly fix of Supergirl on television, what is the comic book equivalent going to offer?
Right.
And that is a unique thing that is that in my mind is closer to trouble for comics than games maybe ever were. I mean, the idea was that you were worried about games like, oh my God, why would you ever want to read Spider-Man when you could be Spider-Man, right?
Yep.
And then you're like, well, it ends up that you needed to read Spider-Man to know how to be Spider-Man. So that worked out. Whereas in here, and by the way, not just the TV shows, now there's a movie every couple of months.
Sure.
It used to be every 6 months.
Sure.
Now there's a superhero movie, and then they just announced, there's a bunch of Spider-Man universe movies and Batman universe movies, and there's just going to be a lot coming. And, we're really going to have to make sure that our product is exceptional and forward-thinking. And, I'm not saying it's over at all.
Oh,
it's
no.
Not,
No,
they
I
need
understand. No,
all
things are going to have to change.
Without us, it all falls apart.
Agreed.
We are a constant generator of ideas and story and IP, for the most unsexy word in the world.
Yes.
But I think that if the comic industry doesn't pay attention to what it's done to itself, and we've done it to ourselves, that we might be in for a harsh awakening. But I think that if you do pay attention, it's very clear what we can offer and what we need to offer. So that's where I'm at right now. That's what I've been thinking about.
I hear you, man, and I think you're right, and I think that the monthly format is something that or the standard format, I guess, being monthly. Yeah, that.
Well, now the standard's coming more bi-weekly anyhow. So.
Yeah, I suppose
it's part of it. You have to start. You have to start making more. You have to start spinning your wheels, as you said. You want the stories to end faster. You want them to wrap up faster so you can keep moving, and that will be happening when books start being more bi-monthly.
Okay, and I guess to facilitate that, I mean, and you guys are already doing it. You've got alternate art teams working around the same time. I know that's a strain on some writers to think about, 2 arcs simultaneously.
Oh yeah, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah,
it is.
So
it's a hard. It's something I sometimes have trouble with because I like to write straight through.
Sure.
With a plan, and like something can reveal itself in issue 4, but I already wrote issue 7, and I didn't know issue 4 was going to reveal this to me, and now I have to, you know what I mean? So,
totally.
So writing an order is better for me.
No, I understand, and really the other thing, and I know you've seen the Civil War II outcome, or at least reaction to it once it finished. The need for the other books to come out sometimes before the event ends, and I know that David had his kid's birth in the middle of the run and everything, and I know that's what made it late. But it did take a lot of the emotional punch out of your story, some of the conclusions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know,
and it's too bad. And I don't know. I mean, what I would ask is it economically infeasible for Marvel to hold on Champions and some of these other books that come out of the event and say, we wanted it to start September 1st, but Civil War isn't done yet, so we really should wait. I know they did that with 10 years ago for the original event, and again, it was mid-event, so it was harder, and they held a few books back because of different reveals and stuff.
Well, and we wrote a shitload in books in the middle that weren't initially the plan.
Right, that's right. I forgot about that.
People forget about that, but there was
Frontline.
Not just Frontline, but there were extra issues of a lot of books that got produced while
McNiven was.
Yeah. It wasn't just McNiven. Mark was sick at the time as well.
Oh, that's right. Mark had Crohn's. I forgot about that.
Mark was ill. So
yeah.
It's always understandable.
But that's the thing. Yeah, these are totally human. That's really, and I understand. I like you both, and I mean that's
even like David hasn't missed since you broke into comics.
There you go.
He hasn't fucking missed, and that's one of the reasons they wanted us. We never miss.
Right.
Great.
And
after
life
Secret
happens.
War, Brian and David, they won't miss. And of course, the one time we miss.
Yeah.
And on Defenders, right on schedule. We're perfect.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, no problems at all. Baby's born, baby's fine. Everyone's going to go.
Here's something, because honestly, somebody suggested this to me, and I thought that was really interesting. That would, and just upon reflection, because you wrote your story, and I get it. And some people question Carol's motivations in the story. Would it have had it ever occurred to you, as opposed to having Tony and Carol debate about this, that maybe because Carol is kind of a newer, front line kind of hero, in the same way that DC with Blackest Night, Batman and Superman took a back seat in that event, and it really was more about Hal and Barry Allen, and they were they were kind of the main heroes of that. Would it have made a counterpoint better or different if Sam Wilson was on one side and Carol was on the other? Or
we not Sam. It was always Tony and it was. I'll be honest with you. It was always Tony and not Cap, and it literally became Carol and two other people, and Carol was by far the most fascinating. Right?
Okay.
Because Carol had never been pushed.
True.
Right?
Yeah, this is her front and center.
She's military.
Yes.
She's being pushed, and she's right. Right? At least as far as she's concerned. Right?
No, absolutely.
100% right. And she's very self-aware that Tony won't back down. Right?
Right.
So, she's very aware of what she's walking into. I must say, and I know that and Carol's one of those characters that people who love her, and don't want anything bad to happen to her.
Right, like we were talking about Angela earlier. Absolutely, yes.
But you love her because she will persevere from this. Right. And because of other stories we know, she may be changed and different and be she will learn from it, right?
I hear you.
So I knew because from the first Civil War and just the nature of storytelling that if both characters are leads and both characters are right, that half the people are going to be upset. Right? That's just
sure.
Math, right? Sure. It happened with Cap and Tony.
Right. And Tony took the thing is that we were able to say, because people were screaming, "Oh, you ruined Tony Stark. You ruined him forever with the first Civil War. You ruined him forever. He will never be fixed." Yep.
And then you can go, "Is Tony fine?" No. I think Carol will be fine. Let her have a crisis.
Agreed. Yeah.
I said, what did she do that was out of character? Did she stand up for herself? Yes. Did she back down? No. Is that Carol's character? Yes. There you go. It's just but was it hard to watch her do that with friends? Absolutely.
Right.
That's why you want to tell the story, because how much do you believe what you believe?
I'm with you. No, I agree.
So I said online, I'll say here, I knew from the minute that we wrote that I typed in Carol Danvers and that it got stamped approval. This is the argument that will happen, and I'll be the asshole to some people. And then what I liked was that how issue to issue the opinion would change, and that was something I wanted to try that Mark didn't get a chance to try in the first one, which is we'll set the table and then we'll keep turning the screws. We'll keep doing something that makes you, if you thought you were on Tony's side by issue 1, will you still be on his side by issue 7? So people like to pick their side and say, that's it, I'm on my side. And then I'm going to go, all right, that's your side? Is it your side now? How is it? Is it your side if I kill Bruce Banner? Is it your side if I, so I, and I like that. But I knew by doing that, I'm dramatically, if I may be a teacher, I'm dramatically creating an adversarial position with you, the reader. Sure. I'm forcing you to fight back.
Yes.
It's interesting to me Now it's hard to tell people because you're basically saying, no, I'm fucking with you on purpose because I'm interested in telling that story.
Yes.
No one wants to be. No one wants you to come up to them and they go, you're fucking with me, and you don't want them to go, I know. You want them to say, I'm sorry, but the real answer is, I know.
Right. No, absolutely.
Okay. But I knew, and I know, like even Margaret Stahl hates what I did with Carol, and but then I could see was happy I did it because then she got to do what she wanted to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's all that. So there you go.
No, and
I may be overstating. She didn't say she hated it. That's I shouldn't say that. That's putting words in her mouth she never said.
Okay. All right.
And I like Margaret a lot, so I don't want to position her that way.
That's cool. And no, I agree with you. I think that because of what everyone has done since Kelly Sue started and everything, making Captain Marvel what she is and everything. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think I get it. And it's like, we're still digging the hero part. Let her keep winning. We want her to keep winning. And it's like, no, but heroes have to stumble because that's what makes them, find that intestinal fortitude to continue and persevere.
It's not if they're going to lose, it's how they lose and how they pick themselves up.
Yes.
And she hasn't had, like Spider-Man and Daredevil have had the quintessential stories of that, right?
Totally.
She never has, and that's not fair. And then I start thinking, well, I think that's a little sexist. I do. I think if a bunch of writers are not putting her through her paces like all the other characters are, then we're writing teddy bears.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Then we're writing, and I get the instinct because you're like, things are shitty, so you want them to not be shitty here, right?
Right. It's escapism. Sure.
I get it. But there will be plenty of books that do that. I'm just not going to be that guy. I'm just not.
Yeah, I get it.
I did, and it was so funny because I just did something so horrible to Miles in the next issue of Spider-Man. So horrible. And I want to point it up so when anyone else complains about Angela or Carol or whatever thing you think I did to your baby, well, this is my baby. And I just messed them up good.
Well,
I do think of that because I think that's the danger we're in with the new characters is that we're not putting them through the gauntlet that Stan Lee put the originals through.
That's cool. Hey, and
in my opinion, I could be totally wrong.
Well, I'll tell you another book that we haven't talked about that I have been enjoying since issue 1. And that's Infamous Iron Man.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, and by the way, for people who are like, man, I'd like to see some characters. It's interesting to see Doom post Secret Wars with a nice clean face be the Doom that he is now. And also, I haven't read. Has the new issue come out yet? Where Doom's mom is, apparently conspiring with Reed.
Yes, I actually don't know what shipped yet. I'm like 5 issues ahead of you guys.
Of course you are. Yeah.
But I will tell you though, but knowing that, I have a very good handle on this storyline and talk about things that you've always wanted to do, like a bucket list. That was the villain who decides to then crawl out of the hole that they created for themselves, and who has a bigger hole than Victor? Like I've done littler versions of this story before. I've done the Powers and June and just about because I am fascinated by how badly could you fuck up your life, and how long would it take to crawl out? How can you put it all back together? And I originally had this idea as someone was presenting me with an idea for a console game years ago, and it would be not unlike Grand Theft Auto, where if you keep fucking up enough, the police start showing up, right? The game starts to attack you,
okay,
right? And wouldn't it be great if there was a superhero game like that where if you behave, the game likes you. If you misbehave, the game hates you. And you could be the hero and then fall all the way down to be a mass murderer. And then the game's treating you like a mass murderer. And then one day, 3 years later, you could just decide, nope, you could crawl. How long would it take to get that character back up into the good graces of the game, right? So that idea has been with me for a long time. And I know there are games like that now, but at the time there wasn't. And
okay.
The idea that I could take Victor after the biggest disgusting thing he's ever done and then write a book where you empathize with him was just overwhelmingly tantalizing. It also speaks to Alex's voice so well because Victor is so Alex. They're the same person. So, and only in the sense that they're both they both
European.
are European and are very sure that the most beautiful person that I ever walked in with. But the truth is that I feel Alex's connection to him.
Interesting.
On the pages, I feel it as well. And then what happened was so I had forgotten this pitch about the world reacting to the villain, right? Instead, I was just focused on the villain deciding to fix every mistake they ever made, right? Mm-hmm. And then as I was writing, the Marvel Universe literally started reacting to his existence, much like a game would.
Cool.
Like without me even deciding, all the villains in the Marvel Universe are like, no way. Like that's the most scariest thing. It's like someone turning state's evidence. Like that guy knows where all the bodies are buried.
Right.
You know? And then I have a good Victor, and then there's an evil Reed, and then there's his mother, and then there's Tony, and then there's Riri. It's too good. It's so much fun to write.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's balancing them all together, and I just wrote a scene with Evil Reed, the Maker. I should call him the Maker. And
so it is Ultimate Reed, obviously.
Maybe.
Okay. Oh well, that's true. The Maker. I guess I suppose the way Secret Wars ended, you could refer to Reed as the Maker, given what he's doing at the end of the book. And the writing between Ben and Reed, and also just wrote that'll be fun to read. Absolutely.
Flashback. I wrote a college scene between Victor, Reed, and Ben that was a lot of fun to write and could have taken up a whole issue if I had the space. Absolutely loved writing it, and I did. I every issue, and it is hitting Tom Brevoort in his soft spots because he loves the Fantastic Four so much. But I literally keep handing him these scripts where like a Valentine to the Fantastic Four, and I finally write. I know this looks like I'm auditioning for a book you don't publish, but I just really I'm feeling. Because you should see, like literally, the book opens up with the most loving flashback to a book that this isn't.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
when is that?
But the good news about the Doom story is that it has a beginning, middle, and end.
Okay.
The end, the people who know it are very happy about. So I'm very happy about that as well. I feel that the ending will land. Like I won't change it when I get there. But this is one of the most. It's hard to describe why I love it so much, but this one feels like only me and Alex could have done this. Like other people could have done it, but this one feels like it's us.
I hear you. No, I agree with that.
Like this and Scarlet both feel like, wow, this is really us at our best, and that's a very good feeling. Particularly when people feel so good about our previous work. You know, that's sometimes a double-edged sword where people think so highly of something you've done that they actually start remembering it wrong. You know, like there's that line in Michael Clayton that Sidney Pollack says about, and God forbid you, George Clooney's character wants to go back to being a lawyer.
Yep.
And he goes, God forbid you're not as good as you remember, because I've seen that happen too.
Yeah.
So that's always that when you're constantly trading new stuff with someone and you've done something like Daredevil that people are so nice about, I tend to like, this is the Jewish worry. Oh, you don't like it as much as you think you do. This is better, but truthfully, I'm so grateful. It is the book. I think it's the least selling book of all my books, but it's the one that gets the most mail.
Interesting.
So it's because for some people it's so funny because I think Riri like sells them like 2 to 1, and it's just that one is a villain book. It just is, for some people it's a villain book. They don't want.
I get it. Yeah.
Well, so, but I do think it will. When we touch the landing, I think people are gonna. I think it'll have some legs.
That's cool.
Or not.
Yeah, we'll see.
I've thought that before, and it wasn't true. So.
Well, like you said, we'll see. I will say the last word about this is I always love when it's Ben Grimm versus Vic, because first of all,
no,
I love that he calls him
Burt-
Vic. I can't wait to see this scene because it's true. It's like they both reveal their inner human selves of, fuck you, I knew you when, I'm still not impressed with you. And that's essentially both guys to each other. And it's so great.
That's what the scene is about, is it's based on stuff you've seen in the old Fantastic Four books, but Victor is doing his research. Reed comes up and tries to engage him. Victor is a fucking asshole. Reed, so desperate to have a peer of his intellectual equal that he tries to like find his way in. He's still, you know, and then Ben just comes in and is like, "Oh, you piece of shit."
Yes.
You know, it's like nothing, right? And then when we see them today, not only does Ben can't stand Victor and is never going to trust him ever.
Of course.
Victor is wholly aware of this and is in a way enjoying it because he thinks he can win Ben over, and if he can win Ben over, he can win anybody over.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because man, I mean, even Grant Morrison in his Fantastic Four miniseries, I forget who drew it, but yeah, there was just that moment of, Vic, I never liked you, and it's like
for sure. But like when you write them, you feel it. Like Reed empathizes with Victor.
Yeah.
Ben does not.
Right.
Ben does not. Ben's like, "Oh, poor baby."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
well, that's when Ben becomes Ben, the big man on campus jock again, where it's like, yeah, fuck you, man. I didn't like you when you were a student. I certainly don't like you now, and nothing you do impresses me. And I'm trapped in this body, and you're trapped in that honor. We're still the same people. Fuck you. And it's great.
That was like my favorite line of that issue was when he wakes up and realizes Victor saved his life.
Yes.
And shit. How do I unpack that? So
exactly.
I thank you and
no, totally.
You always fight for the little ones. You know what I mean? Like we really love this book, and we're going to get to finish it on the way we want to finish it.
Okay,
but I do. I'm so grateful for those who love it, and I know that there's a lot of Daredevil fans that really dig it if they give it a shot. It's not what they think it is. It's basically.
No, every time you and Alex get together, I loved Moon Knight. I liked your guys' run on Moon Knight for the same reasons. And, yeah.
Yeah, so Moon Knight was the one that it wasn't Daredevil, so go fuck yourself.
As far as the readership went?
No, just general opinion. I actually think Moon Knight's kind of a little better than some of our Daredevil stuff. But
I liked Moon Knight.
I know saying that out loud makes people just roll their eyes, so fine, whatever, it doesn't matter. But but just when you know how these things work in show business, right? Like you're like Scorsese. If Scorsese just made Goodfellas every time, people are like, "Oh, stop it," right? But now that he doesn't, so like, please go back to do that kind of thing.
Right.
Expectation versus whatever. So anyway, so I think Alex is doing amazing work, and I'm glad you're liking it.
Oh,
and I think you'll enjoy the third act twists, of which there are many.
Excellent. Well, and also
I have a lot of leeway. I've been given a lot of latitude on this, and I'm very, very happy about it.
I also liked that Jessica Jones that she has the moment talking to her client. It's like, how come we don't see the Fantastic Four anymore? Nobody talks about them anymore. That was fantastic.
It's funny because Jessica always had a lot of little meta commentary.
Totally. Yes.
But it's weird because when I was first doing Jessica, I was meta commentating other people's stuff, but half the stuff I'm meta commentating is kind of my fault. So it's funny. Like I'm meta commentating about you'll see a lot of the worlds all merged. There was a convergence.
Yes.
Well, that's there's a lot to unpack there if you don't know about it.
Right.
If you're just like a guy who works at a record company and you were in the Ultimate Universe and now you're not. That's
well, that's why that was really interesting in terms of, and I'm gonna have to, I guess, get issues 5 and 6 to find out what happened to. Do we find out what happened to this woman's husband who was married to Gwen Stacy? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
You find that and it does. It's part of a bigger thing.
Cool.
To me, and it being part of a bigger thing may not be readily apparent, but
it's coming.
It is, and I just thought I'd tell you if you care. You're gonna I'm a big fan of that. You know what I mean?
Is that thread still hanging out there of future Tony during New Avengers? You know, kind of saying we all fucked it up at this point, and certainly you've still got the damage of the original X-Men still hanging out. I mean, I tell my lapsed reader friends
during Generations, is Riri Williams going to visit that Tony? Yes.
Oh, nice! Wow.
You think Tony Sorcerer Supreme is making a return? Hell yes.
Wow.
It's maybe my favorite thing I've done at Marvel.
Cool.
No joke.
Cool. But unfortunately,
ask me. I every time someone tweets me about Iron Man, Sorcerer Supreme,
future Tony,
they're so happy, and it makes me so happy, and it's so stupid, and I'm so happy about it.
How many years ago was that? Now 5.
Not too many. If I believe, you know, this is the opposite of thing. I stopped writing Avengers in 2012.
Oh, okay.
And the X-Men annuals were only a couple of years ago. So when you saw Iron Man from the future that you're talking about in the X-Men,
5 years ago.
It was not even 5 years ago. It was just a couple. Yeah.
Interesting. No, that's going to be fun. And unfortunately, Ron Richards, no, we're still not going to know what was in the closet when Hawkeye goes to visit.
So funny. I love him. And I don't know if this is true or not. So, and I don't know Ron at all. Ron works at Image now, and Ron's been hawking my Chinook about what was in the closet during the Hawkeye Scarlet Witch issue of New Avengers from many years ago.
Yeah.
This is very inside baseball.
Indeed.
For fans. But there was a closet, and he knew if he opened the door, it would reveal something that he didn't want revealed, so he didn't open the door. So Ron wants to know what's behind the door. I will not tell Ron what's behind the door. I believe Ron has created fake Twitter accounts to ask me in different... Like, he's clearly never going to answer me. Maybe he'll answer Egg Avatar 9727. So I enjoy that.
Yeah,
so it seems, as we're speaking, our beloved president is tweeting a bunch of crazy shit about Bill and Hillary, and as Kevin McGuire just tweeted, "Ooh, something big is about to drop."
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right about that.
He's tweeting so crazy. There might be indictments coming.
You know, it took.
Why didn't they? He's blaming Bill and Hillary for Russia. It's fantastic.
Oh, God. And don't be freaked out if you see my newsletter. It comes out automatically. We usually, at this point, like, it'll automatically pop up and you go, hey, you're tweeting while we're doing it.
I know. I'm fascinated by your...
Yeah. That's just, you know, what that is, that paper LI. I just pick a bunch of people to follow, and their links to various videos and articles and stuff pop up. Yeah, show up in this newsletter. And it's interesting, honestly. I'm very proud that, I mean, I have nothing to do with it other than curating the people whose links I look forward to reading or watching, and that's what you get. And that's what makes up that newspaper. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks very nice. So
well, thank you. Well, that's just another widget, you know, through that paper LI.
I click on it when I see you talking to everybody else and not me, and I miss you. And I'm like,
oh, thanks, Mike.
What did you have last week? Who did you interview last week?
Marv Wolfman.
No, Marv Wolfman. There was somebody.
Oh, Tom Taylor.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Great. Tom's awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
guy.
I'm very, very fascinated by his work.
He's tremendous. He's a really great guy. Nicholas Scott, obviously fellow Aussie, introduced us, and at a few San
I met her. She was here in Portland for the summer.
Yeah, working with Greg. Yes.
So she would come by for the dinners. It was nice.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No, I know. It's like, and it bums me out because of my current situation. I don't think I'll be going to that many out of town conventions this year. So yeah, I feel like I'm missing summer camp. And
not really. I know, man. I guess I just look at it differently. I mean,
please. I get it.
Conventions. I've never had a bad convention experience. You've been there for a lot of them. I've had unbelievable convention experiences. But hey, you know, you can talk to me anytime you want. I'm online.
Oh, I know that.
And it's summertime. I like riding my bike, playing with the kids. You know, now that my oldest is a teenager, I'm like, well, I got to play with London. He's gonna, you know. Like Olivia has a life. You know, she comes and she said hi to me. That was it. You saw the total of our interaction today.
That's it for the day.
You know? But no, she's got stuff though. She's got the week off school and she's got her friends.
Of course.
So with Tabitha in London, I'm like, oh,
hang on to him. Exactly. No, that's good. That's good.
I'll play with the baby.
Oh man, any good Star Wars updates from London?
Well, he's way more into superheroes right now.
Interesting.
I posted, and I will plug my Instagram. I was because I truly think this is the greatest thing my family has ever done. Part of our trip, Marvel did set up some nice character meet and greets for us, and they knew London was going to be there, so they actually went out of their way to make sure that we could meet Darth Vader and Chewbacca. Chewbacca was so real, and the Star Wars Museum where this all takes place looks so much like Star Wars that I believe he was confused that we had entered Star Wars. And also, we went on the Star Tours ride, and it's amazing. I know you've never been on it. It's amazing.
Cool.
So when he met Chewbacca was so real and fun with him that when they said, here, and in this room is Darth Vader, he was like, no.
Oh, poor guy.
He was, I think that's really Darth Vader. And Darth Vader came out, and it was in character, perfect, never broke character, hilarious. My kids busted his balls for an inordinate amount of time. It was so much fun. So I posted on Instagram. It's in 2 parts. One of it is my darling Sabrina giving him the business, and then Olivia giving him the business. It's just beautiful. So if you want to see Darth Vader having their ball busted by a bunch of Bendises, I can't recommend my Instagram high enough. But yeah, and then we went and visited Spider-Man and Captain America, and he completely froze. And I took probably the greatest picture I've ever taken, which is I pretended Spider-Man knocked me out on the Daily Bugle thing.
That's excellent.
And there you go. It was very nice. It was very sweet. But yeah, he's into superheroes. You know what he loves?
Tell me.
I posted this. He loves Next Avengers. Olivia loved Next Avengers.
It is a good cartoon. It is a good cartoon.
But it's so funny. Of all the things, the one that everyone I know gravitates to is that thing that I'm like, maybe we should bring these characters back.
I thought it was fun when you did. Yeah.
I I didn't do much with them though. Maybe something more substantial to do with them.
Sure. No, I think I agree. Encore, one of the Encores has been showing, I think Encore Kids, a lot in the last couple of months. And I found myself watching it again. And for the early animation, it really is like one of the better ones.
Yeah, so. I had nothing to do with it. I'm not plug-in for Marvel.
Chris Yost, right? Didn't Chris Yost write?
It happened to catch Next Avengers. It's a little bit of a surprise, particularly for kids. Kids love it.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get your kids into superheroes, this is a good one. I know there's a lot of parents trying to manipulate their children into liking what they like, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think it's right as a parent to do. But they'll make up their own minds eventually. But for right now, have a little friends that like what you like. Nothing wrong with that. For all the diapers you have to change, absolutely. You're gonna like my music.
Well, that's what I was about to say to Olivia. I'm like, I know Fraction's got you covered on good classic rock. So. I knew that. That's
she's switched to guitar. She's doing really, really good, man. I just posted. She just led a chorus of "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" for her.
I saw that. She did very good.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
Yeah, no, really good guitar playing. No, she's doing good. That's very cool.
I love them all so much. They're all doing good. Anyway. Oh my God! Someone who's bragging about his children. What a shock!
Yeah, I know.
Someone bragging about their children. So the good news is we're out of the event where no one's ever happy with you. But you know that going in, and doing Spider-Man and Jessica and Iron Man and Defenders, and it feels really good. This is the good times. And for those asking, we put a issue of Powers to bed. Last week.
Oh, that's great.
And that I'm finishing off the 3rd arc of Scarlet, and we'll produce all of it together and then release all of it together. Because though I feel horrible about the delays, we'll make it up to you in volume.
Has there been advancement in the Cinemax Scarlet series?
No. It's cooking. It takes a while.
Okay.
I get very zen about this stuff.
Sure.
I have friends that don't have a day job that just sit here all day and panic. No, because it's what you would do.
Of course.
Like if you have like right now, there's a deal going on. I know this sounds like a high class problem. There's a deal going on. I would really like to do it. If I didn't have a job where I had to work all day, I would sit here and think about my deal all day that hasn't happened and be panicking. Is it going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's a ridiculous waste of time. So I'm very grateful that I have other things to do. That I don't have to think about it all day. I have a friend who's a screenwriter, and he said, "This is if you just sit there for weeks and wait for someone to say something. It takes forever. The deals take forever. So I just go about my day."
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And also I should mention, you said obviously as far as Scarlet goes, you guys are in production, and when it's ready, then you will put it out. So that's good.
Now Scarlet's brilliant. They're all and United States of Murder. I just wrote a big United States of Murder. So Mike's going to get that in during his pockets during Cape Carson, which is a great gig for him. So I want him. I never would pull him away from that in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, and then on top of that, I have 4 new creative projects with other people that we're so excited about. Written, being drawn. It's exciting.
What are you doing?
I cannot put them out until Scarlet and Brilliant and Powers are finished to a satisfactory point.
Oh, okay. What are you doing? Aren't you doing something with Kevin McGuire, or has that not been announced yet in terms of like specifically what you guys are doing? Well, no, I mean, go ahead.
First of all, he's part of the Guardians of the Galaxy finale. That we just. Oh, by the way, wait to see the lineup of this humdinger. This is good. Art Adams, Kevin McGuire, Sarah, just everybody in it. Just Ed McGuinness, Mark Bagley.
Cool.
Every single page is phenomenal.
That's awesome.
It's that old school jam I'm always trying to chase. The Justice League 200 that I'm trying to produce in my head. So it's really something. Jordan really went out of his way to make sure it was special. And so me and him are cooking a couple things. Okay. We actually have a few ideas.
Cool.
And we'll see what sticks. There was one idea that I got offered a job that I'm not going to do at Marvel, but doing it with Kevin would make me want to do it. But it's not exactly the tone that I think Marvel was asking for when they offered it to us. So I'm going to offer us an annual of us doing our version of it to see if maybe we can scratch our itch anyhow. But on top of that, so have a creator own thing. We're slowly percolating.
Okay.
And on top of that, David and I are getting David Mack and I are just starting Punisher End of Days.
Oh, that's great! Finally, very good.
Finally. And the good news is, a problem with the delayed sequel is that who remembers the first one? But it's its own thing. It just takes place in that universe. So whether you read Daredevil End of Days or not, you'll be completely fine.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. No, I love that. I love.
So in 2 years, when you read it, you'll remember.
All right. That's good.
No, but it'll be self-contained to itself.
All right,
but I'm rewarding for people who read Daredevil End of Days. Absolutely,
very cool. And while we're talking about Powers in United States of Murder Incorporated and everything, and also mentioning David Mack as well. Wow, the 4 of us actually did something together, kind of.
What?
Me, you, Oming, and really it revolves around Oming, and it's just been announced for Dark Horse, and it's
the Mike Oming art book, No Plan B.
Indeed,
the art of Michael Avon Oming.
Yep,
I am so happy about it. I've been pushing him to do this book for years, so I'm so happy that Dark Horse forced him to do this. I wrote the introduction. It is a 6-page mushy love letter to how much I love that man.
Beautiful, and
the art is gorgeous, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. I also contributed to the G.F. Darrow art book. I'm very, very happy to be part of that as well. I didn't draw anything.
Jeff's awesome. He's a great
guy.
But
I did. I do. I think it's brilliant, and I was so happy that I was asked to comment on that stuff too. So
that's very cool. I didn't know.
That art of G.F. Darrow book is really unique. For those who love the unique art books, Dark Horse tried something very interesting with this. it's a lot of people commenting, a lot of like well-known people.
Yes.
And coworkers and stuff, and not all of it's like.
Oh, good. Interesting.
Yeah, it's critical. I was very, very charmed by what I said. I would buy this in a heartbeat.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. He lives in Chicago, and I see him occasionally. I'm gonna have to. I assume he'll be at C2E2. I'm gonna have to see if he'll be willing to come on and talk about the book.
You should.
He's great. Oh no, he's been on before. He has sat down with me before, and he's really good. But he is in the best way a maverick, to put it kindly, where he's his own guy, and he just there are things where he even had stuff to promote, and he's like, John, I just don't feel like it, and I'm like, then don't do it. I'm like, it's okay, Jeff. I'm like, I'm happy to talk to you on the record or off the record, and I'm glad you always make time for me when I see you. And, he very early on gave me an incredible interview. And since then, it's always been a little bit less. But, what he gives me is always great. So, hopefully.
I don't know if you read the last Shaolin Cowboy miniseries.
I did.
Or I should say looked at it. And I have had more heated conversations about this miniseries than anything else in comics.
Interesting.
Sure. with other creators, this is a book a creator argue about all the time, because it's like page after page after page of just hacking up zombies.
Yes,
with no narrative.
Yes,
and then until there is a narrative, but it goes 100 pages of hacking zombies with no dialogue. I am just in love with this book. I would have never done it. I would have never asked for it. I never would have written it down as something I ever wanted. And I love it. And other people are driven crazy by it. So if you want to get in on it, just take a look at it. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, yes, not for everyone. But but if you want to be friends with me, you better like it.
And back to the Oming book. Yeah. It's,
yes.
You did the foreword. I do an interview with Oming. We covered a lot, so I'll be interested to see what makes it in the book. And then David wrote it after.
I think a lot of it's making the book. I don't.
Oh no, and I don't mean that in any bad way or anything like that. I just I know that the art is what needs to be there, and we ended up talking about a lot of things that went beyond what was asked of me and him. So, but no, we had some really fun conversations. And when the book comes out, I will release the audio of me and Mike talking about some of these projects and stuff, because it was a good conversation. We had a great time. I miss Mike. I haven't had him on as regularly as I've had you on,
right.
or seen him at as many conventions as we see each other. So it was really nice having some time really for the last 4 months to really talk to Mike and get into this stuff. And I've always been as much of a fan of Mike's because I like his point of view. And like you started to say with Cave Carson, my God, what a great book.
What a great book. And
Jesus.
As we get older in this world, you tend I talk about what a wonderful person he is. He's a good person.
Yeah.
He just is. And we don't celebrate good people. We make fun of shitty people. That's what we do. Like, good people walk around all day and no one stops and goes, that's a really good person who literally has never been in a controversy or a fight or, you know what I mean? And you never hear anyone saying anything shitty about him. He's just a good dude. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've now been, friends that turned into family. Like, we're family, right?
Yeah.
We now live near each other, so we can help each other, right?
Yeah.
And we'd been through all the roller coaster powers, and then then the show gets canceled, and through all of it, he's just wonderful. I'm a mess. He's wonderful. No, literally, I was the one who had to call him and tell him our show was canceled for no reason, right?
Right.
And just because they don't want to do it. So I had to call him, and he literally said, he said to me, he goes, man, that was fun. Let's get back to work.
Good. Yeah.
That's
pragmatic. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a good that's someone you want to work with.
Totally. Hey, by the way, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I love him, and it was just one of those things where we will go on double dates, and we went on a double date. It was one of those times we just went out for pie and just laughed and laughed and laughed the whole time. And then an hour later, Scott emails me and goes, will you write the introduction to Mike's book? And I'm like, yes, I will. I love him so much.
That's cool.
So, typing with like tears in my eyes. I love him so much. Anyway.
No, I understand. And honestly, I was so flattered when I was offered the opportunity to do the interview for the book and everything. And I'm just like, yeah, God, that's great. Thank you. I'm like, this is fun. I'm like, it's a great opportunity, and it's one of my favorite people in comics. So of course. So yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah. And the reason I'm excited about it is that Mike deserves it, but also Mike's story is, in my opinion, inspirational. Like if you're working a shit job drawing your comics, that's where Power started, and that's what I wanted to write about. Like he drew the first 3 issues of Powers in a security booth in the middle of the night in New Jersey.
Yep,
where he was working guarding a parking lot. And I know that some people we had a TV show. They're like, oh, look at those guys. I'm like, yeah, no, rewind. We were right there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The movie deal got him out of the parking garage. And to talk about that, I think it's inspirational to those who are looking to get out of whatever their metaphorical parking garage is.
I understand.
Or it's an actual parking garage. I don't know. It could be.
In some cases. I know.
In some cases, El Guapo is actually El Guapo, a scary Mexican person who's trying to kill us. In other ways, El Guapo is a symbol. Forget what the exact quote was. But
Three Amigos.
I just realized I was doing the Three Amigos speech about El Guapo.
Exactly. We almost face our own El Guapos in our life. Exactly.
We all face El Guapos, and for some people, El Guapo is actually El Guapo. Yeah.
That is a misunderstood movie because it really is great.
It seems that they had a lot of trouble behind the scenes. I think with every John Landis movie, there was some much funnier script that didn't get filmed or didn't get edited together. Yeah. I would always like to see. So
I like the not.
You know what that means? You know what that means, John?
Yes.
We're at Three Amigos. It's time to hang up.
I know. I was getting to that. I figured we were close to wrapping up. Is there anything else that
no? You know what? I
read?
That I've actually read. Wildstorm by Warren Ellis. I really liked.
Really, go on.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I liked Greg Rucka's Old Guard.
Just picked up the first issue, and I know the second is coming out this month. So I'm him and Leandro Fernandez, right?
Really liked it. And what else? There was Jason's Doctor Strange. This is one of those where I get like a little shitty. Like when I was a kid, Jason's Doctor Strange would have fucking owned the business. It would have been all you heard about, like
that's Frank a good point.
Like Frank Miller's Daredevil. But there's so many good books and so many excellent creators that some people actually just of course it's Jason. It should be awesome. But it's really an achievement what he's doing, and I try to explain it to him at the Marvel retreat, but I fear I sounded like an idiot yet again. No, it's when you can see that this is special, you know what I mean? Like This is more than anyone's ever done with this character.
That's a good point.
You just want to point out and say, listen, dude, you're doing something really special.
That's a very good point. No, and I haven't talked to Jason since the Goddamned was first coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I mean, I'm happy as hell that, Southern Bastards is going well. By the way, speaking of the other Jason Latour, so happy that his writing has been so well received, and Spider-Gwen is kicking ass, and he got back to Loose Shoes, I think it's called, or Loose Ends. Loose Shoes is a bad 80s movie, kind of like a Kentucky Fried movie.
Well, Jason and I just worked together on the Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen crossover.
Outstanding.
And I must tell you, I don't know. I know Jason Aaron because we work together. We're work friends. We're not friends.
Sure.
But
Latour.
I don't know Latour at all. I don't think I've ever met him. I don't think I've ever shaken his hand.
He's a great guy. Go on.
Nick Lowe said, hey, it would be great. You guys should do like a Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen crossover.
Totally.
And I'm like, I would totally, that's a great idea. And then literally the joke being, my girlfriend's out of town, you don't know her. Like, my girlfriend lives in Canada, you don't know her. That was the joke. That just started the conversation. Of course, we didn't go anywhere near that, but that was why we thought it was worth having this conversation. And working with Jason was absolutely lovely and stress-free.
Terrific.
On a level, like, I feel I want to buy him something. It just, sometimes you can go into a project with all the best intentions, just if things start, no one's agreeing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Everyone's got a very strong idea and they're in conflict. Where in this one, it was just a lot of fun. I just thought people would like to know that.
No, I understand.
He was just lovely, and if I ever get to know him better, I will tell him.
He's a really good guy, and he's had an interesting journey in comics, and I'm really glad that everything has fallen into place because I met him at the start of his career when I was starting the podcast, and he was part of that group of Kansas City guys like B. Clay Moore and
Yep.
and Andy Parks and Phil Hester in Iowa and everything, and Jeremy Hahn. So yeah, it was fun getting to know Jason and watching him grow. And I'm really glad that he and Jason Aaron hooked up for Southern Bastards, and I think that opened doors for him. And I'm really he came in and paid his dues at Marvel with some other books coming in at the end of Winter Soldier and things like that. And I'm glad Spider-Gwen has been a big hit, and also for Robbie as well, Robbie Rodriguez. Great.
Yeah, I think lives in Portland. I didn't know that until like yesterday. I have to go find him now.
That's true. Yes, that's very true.
I believe I've embarrassed myself wholeheartely. That he tweeted at me something about Portland. I go, "Oh, do you live in Portland?" And he was like, "Dude, are you serious?" I'm like, we met like repeatedly, and I'm just, yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, good. I someone I would like to work with because that was.
Oh, that'd be cool.
When you get to watch them make the sausage. Like you get to read Jason's scripts and get to see Robbie's process. You can get very charmed by it. You can go, I would like to be part of this. So that was the feeling I came away with. It. Again, there is, almost every story you hear about comics is someone's been slighted or someone's been fucked over or someone's said something incredibly stupid that you thought knew better, including myself. And I just like to point out that there are some really, really amazing people making comics almost constantly, and that's good. I don't know. I just like to shine the light on the good people.
Absolutely, we mentioned Iron Fist earlier. Ed Brisson and Mike Perkins doing a great job.
I think Ed Brisson is a very good writer, and I read his indie stuff too. I'm really excited for what he has to offer. I not to put this on him because, good Lord, did I hate when people put it on me when I was coming up. But I think he may have the goods.
Oh no, I agree with you. I think his indie stuff, a lot of his crime comics are what first obviously I took notice of, and I'm like, anytime there's good crime comics, you've got my attention. And and also Mike. Mike's such a great artist and always has been. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, much like he, I know there are certain characters that he's always wanted to do, and Deathlock was certainly one of them. And now getting the chance to do Iron Fist, I know, is a big, exciting thing for him. And he's, again, one of those first creators that I met, like one of the nicest guys in comics, and always has been.
Well, and this brings me back to something I have to do, like you just mentioned, him wanting to do Darkhawk. Iron Fist. Not Iron Fist, but what was the other character?
Oh yeah, it was Deathlock. Deathlock. Yeah. What about Dark Horse?
The only point of contention between myself and the lovely David Marquez is that he wants to draw Darkhawk, and I forbid it. And now that we're on Defenders, and literally Paladin shows up, he's like, "Really? That couldn't have been Darkhawk?" No,
hilarious.
Darkhawk as a favor to my darling David, Darkhawk will make an appearance in the first year of Defenders.
Okay, that's the cool. And I should mention,
only to be brutally murdered.
We've always talked about Paladin or Paladin, and I'm interested because I know you used to call him Paladin like Aladdin, which when you read it, I get that. But no, so now did someone correct you, or did you discover it yourself, or?
I've evolved. I've evolved.
Okay. That's fine.
You know, I'm a work in progress, John.
Well, no, but it's like dark. It's like
better.
Yeah, but it's like Dark Side and Dark Seed, and it's like I kind of like the British. Well, yeah, Submariner, which that was my father's World War II interpretation. Absolutely, man. I love that. I like Shazam. I like Submariner. Okay, Dad. Good for you. And he didn't say Shazam. He said Captain Marvel. So
right.
That shows my generation, of course.
None of that ever happened. Listen. So, John, we're going to wrap. Here's why we're going to wrap up. We're going to do this again in a month.
If you want to do this in a month, I am happy to do it. You're really throwing the gauntlet? All right.
Throwing the gauntlet. We got Defenders and Free Comic Book Day.
That sounds great.
Another big project that will be announced very soon.
Okay.
That I think some people see coming. And things are all, it's one of those very intensive work seasons. Like I've gotten a lot of writing done, like actual lot of pages to lay down. So so if I feel a little spry, it's because I feel like, I got all my shit done. So awesome. it's a good feeling, and and everyone's healthy, so that's all that matters. So
beautiful.
There you go.
All right, well, take care.
Right, don't stop on me because I want to talk to you offline.
It would be my pleasure. All right, man. Thank you. Man, there you go. Another Bendis tapes in the books, and this was a fun one because of all the heartache and aggravation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed hearing about Dave Fowlie and the Chicago Critics Film Festival that's happening this weekend. And thanks, really. And again, this is my anniversary week, so truly, thanks for supporting Word Balloon. Thank you very much for being on the journey with me, however long, whenever you join me as a fellow traveler, as Frank Santopadre calls us, the people like us that enjoy the crazy pop culture stuff that we do, from the old movies and magazines to comic books and current films and beyond. It's really a pleasure to do this each week for you. I get a big kick out of it, and it means a lot that you think enough to listen and support the show. And as I always say, the best way to support Word Balloon 2 is to let your friends know that you think this is a fun show, and they might think it's a fun show too. Word Balloon today was brought to you by The Comics Canon. The Comics Canon is the podcast that reads, reviews, and renders judgment on the greatest comic book stories of yesterday and today. Every 2 weeks, experienced journalists and critics Kevin Moreau and Kurt Holman hold in-depth yet accessible discussions on such well-known comics as The Dark Knight Returns, the original Civil War, Preacher, The Walking Dead, Fun Home, and more works that have become mass media icons. They also discuss popular comics like Saga and landmark events like X-Men, The Dark Phoenix Saga, and the death of Gwen Stacy. Each episode answers the questions: how do these stories hold up? What's their larger impact on comics or pop culture? And do they belong in that Hall of Fame of comic book stories known as the Comics Canon? Their most recent episode examines the first arc of the Thor book featuring Jane Foster as Thor. And don't forget, in just a couple weeks, on May 24th, just in time for the June release of the new Wonder Woman film, they're going to look at the comic book origins of everyone's favorite Amazon. The Comics Canon is available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and their website, comicscanon.com. Word Balloon is also brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you very much, League, for your support. Again, if you would like to subscribe to Word Balloon, please go to wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad, or go directly to my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/wordballoon. Thanks again for listening. More great stuff still to come in May. We're not even halfway done with May, and lots of really interesting conversations are penciled in. And, man, I know it's been forever since I've had a DC conversation. Tom King is waiting in the bushes. I kind of want the the Batman Flash crossover to finish before I talk. We have a new conversation with Tom, just in time, too, for him to tease the War of Riddles. I think it's called the War of Jokes and Riddles. It's Riddler and Joker at war, and Batman in the middle. But a few other DC creators are in the wings as well, and I've had email conversations with them. So if we've been a little Marvel heavy, you'll excuse me. But and also the indie books as well. Frank Barberi coming back to Word Balloon to talk about Violent Love. Man, I really love that book. I thought that was a really, really cool book, and so happy for Frank. Really talented writer. So it's going to be a pleasure having a new conversation with him, and lots more to come in May and June and beyond. So keep it right here on wordballoon.com. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2017.